Hello all, welcome to session 12 of Selenium 4 training series. In this session, I'm going to explain the other concepts that I have not covered till now in Java that are arrays, strings, wrapper classes, and finally the exception handling. So let's get started. First, I'll start with the arrays, guys. What exactly are these arrays? In Java, we can only store single values into a variable. Okay. For example, if I write a Java statement like int a is equal to, here I can only store a single value into this variable, right? Into this variable a, I can only store single value. What if I try to store multiple values like this? Is it possible in Java to store this kind of multiple values into a single variable? No, guys, you will get a compiler error. This is not possible. Let me show you practically. For that, I'll click on this window search and search for IntelliJ, and I will select this IntelliJ editor app. In a while, IntelliJ IDEA will be opened. Let's wait. So it's loading a project. It's a Java project, guys. Fine. So here we have this Java project which I have created earlier, guys. Okay, in the previous sessions, one of the previous sessions, I created this project. I simply loaded that project, guys. Okay, if you want to change the project, guys, if you are not getting this project and if you want to change the project, you can simply say file. So open recent. Here you will find the list of the projects, guys. Okay, the last session I was using this project. Okay, Selenium WebDriver. If I want to switch to this, I can select this so that this project will be replaced by that project. But here, anyhow, we have to just practice Java. So Selenium project is not required for practicing Java. So I'll go with this simple project. Okay. Now under SRC, select the SRC and create a new file. Right click new Java file. That is Java class I'll create. I'll name the Java class as demo. So in a while, the demo.java file will be created with this public class name that is demo. Okay. And inside this class, guys, I'll create a main method. I'll just simply type main and enter. You'll get the main method. Now here, let's try this part. Okay. Let's try to store multiple values into a variable. So if I say int a is equal to 5, this is okay, guys. You will not get any error. You see, I'm not getting any compiler error. But what if I try to store multiple values like this? Is it possible to store multiple values into a variable here, single variable? No, guys, you're already getting the compiler error, right? Not a statement it is saying. It's not able to understand also. That's the problem, guys. But is there any way I can store multiple values into a single variable? Yes, guys, that is possible with the help of what? Arrays in Java. Okay. In Java, we have to use arrays to store multiple values into a single variable. So instead of declaring this variable like this, what if I put, okay, what if I put a square bracket here? Okay, square bracket here. Now this side, I have to say new int of some 3. Okay, now 3. That means into this variable I can store 3 values. Okay, I'll explain more about this, guys. Don't worry. So, so fine. So simple answer here is we can store multiple values in Java with the help of arrays. Okay, into a single variable if you want to store multiple values, that is possible in Java with the help of arrays, guys. Using arrays, multiple values of same data type can be stored into a single variable. Okay. So arrays can be categorized into 3 types: single dimensional array, 2-dimensional array, and 3-dimensional array. Okay, but as part of Selenium, guys, I'm explaining this Java in the context of Selenium. So you don't have to learn 3-dimensional as part of Selenium, guys. Okay, only if you learn single dimensional and 2-dimensional arrays for Selenium, that is enough, guys. Okay, so if you are still interested and you want to even learn 3-dimensional, okay, that is out of topic for this training series. So I'll only explain single and 2-dimensional array, which are generally required for Selenium automation. Okay, fine. This much knowledge of arrays is enough, guys. Okay, till 2-dimensional array. Fine. Let's start with the single dimensional array, guys. Okay, let's start with the single dimensional array. You see the syntax for the single dimensional array is like this. Just now I showed you, right? Integer array a is equal to new integer array of size 3. That means into this variable a, we can store 3 values. Okay. So first, let's create an integer array, guys. So arrays are like, right? They are not primitive data types. Okay. They are like, right? You need to create an object, guys. You see, using the new keyword, you have to create an object for the array. So how to create that object? I'll tell you. So guys, you have to say new. Which type of array? Which type of values you want to store into that single variable? Multiple values of which data type you want to store into the single variable? Integer type. Okay. And followed by square brackets. Put a semicolon here. And here inside the square bracket, you have to mention the size of the array. how many values you want to store. Let's say you want to store 3 values. You just give 3. Okay. Now this object, okay, I cannot create an object like this, guys. Okay. So have to create a variable object reference. Otherwise the error will not go. You see, include local variable it is saying. I'll just give some name like a only. A is equal to, I'll say. Now I'll declare this a with integer array type int square bracket. I'm declaring this variable with integer array. There are two ways, guys, to create this. Either you can put this square bracket beside the data type, or you can put this square bracket after the variable name. Okay, both are correct. Both are correct, guys. Either you can put the square bracket beside the integer array into data type or any data type, or you can put the square bracket after the variable name. Anything is fine. Both are accepted in Java. Okay, generally I prefer to put the square bracket beside the data type only because it sounds good for me. Integer array a is equal to new integer array of size 3. I can read like this. Okay, if I put the square bracket beside the data type, I can read this particular statement properly, like integer array a is equal to new int of size 3, integer array of size 3. That means the moment I create an object for this integer array, the moment I using the new keyword, when I create an object for the integer array in the computer memory, let's say this is a computer memory. In the computer memory, some memory will be reserved for this object. Okay, some memory will be reserved for this array object like this. Some memory will be reserved, and in that memory will be broken into size 3. That means 3 partitions: 1, 2, and 3. So how many slots are there? 1, 2, 3. Because here you mentioned the size as 3. So 3 slots, this particular memory allocated to this particular array object has been splitted into. Fine. Now at this moment, guys, in this 3 slots of this array object, there are no values. But if you want to store some values, you have to store like this. A, just give the variable name A and provide this square brackets here. And inside that, you just give number 0. Because in array, there is a concept known as indexing concept. Okay, in arrays, there is a concept known as indexing, where the first slot will have the index 0. Okay, the first slot will start from the index 0, guys, not 1, 0. Second slot will have the index 1. Third slot is recognized with the index 2, and so on, guys. Okay, it starts with 0. Now in this case, if I say a of 0 is equal to, if I give some value like 9, what happens? Immediately 9 will go and fall into this first slot of this array memory. Okay, then if I say a square bracket of 1 is equal to 5, if I say this 5 will go and fall into this index 1 slot. Then if I say a of 2 is equal to 7, if I say this 7 will go and fall here, guys. Okay, like this. So that means into a single variable you are storing multiple values like 9, 5, 7, and that is possible with the help of arrays, right? That is possible with the help of arrays in Java. Okay, so we have declared the array here. We have declared the array, like this is the declaration part. Then also we have created the array. Here we have created an object for the array. That's okay. And then we assign the values. We also assign the multiple. You see, according to the size of the array, we assign the values. But if I try to assign one more value, if I run this code, guys, there is no problem because the size of the array is 3. The size of the array is 3, and I assigned 3 values, so no problem, guys. In the output, you will get a blank output without any problems. You see, I got a blank output. That means there is no problem with this program. But what if I try to assign like this? A of 3 is equal to, if I say a of 3 is equal to some 6, if I say, in this case, guys, there is a problem. Here, you specified the size of the array to be size 3. But here, how many values you assign to this array variable? 4. Java will not allow you to. Okay, here you will not get any compiler error. Here, you will not get any compiler error, but in the output, you will get an exception, guys. Okay, during the runtime, when you run this program, you are going to get an error or exception. So, array index out of bounds exception you will get, guys. Okay, let's see that exception here. So exception is a kind of error, guys. Okay, when something is not correct in the program, during if compiler is not able to identify, when you run the program, you may get such kind of errors. That is kind of exceptions in the output. Okay, here you see the type of the exception or error we got is array index out of bounds exception, because the size of the array is 3, but you gave the fourth element. Okay, you try to store the fourth value when the size of array is limited to 3 only 3 values you have to store. Fourth value you tried, that's why you got this exception, guys. Index 3 out of bounds for length 3. Okay, if you remove this part, only 3 values if you assign, no problem. This will work out. You see, this time when I run the program, you'll not get any error because you assigned only according to the size of the array. That's one thing you have to note down. And thing is, now we have assigned the multiple values according to the size of the array to this single array variable. Now I want to access this, guys. Okay, I want to get this. I want to access the values that are stored in this array. For that, guys, I will say sysout. If I want to get this 5 printed, okay, if I want to get this 5, then what I have to do, guys? Here I have to say a of 5 is at which index? 5 is at which index? This is array, guys. A. The variable name is A for this array, and this object reference is referring to this array. And here we have different slots. If I say A of 1, then this 5 will come. So if I say A of 1, then I'll get 5 printed. Similarly, if I say system.out.println, okay, first let's run this, guys, okay, whether you are getting this 5 or not. Okay, the value that is stored in this array at the index 1 should be retrieved with this process. Okay, this is like accessing the array elements. Now run this, you should get the 5 printed in the output first. You see 5 got printed in the output. Similarly, guys, if I want to get the sysout, if I say sysout and say A of 0, what value will be printed? The value that is stored at the index 0 of this array variable, that is nothing but A of 0 is 9, will be printed in the output here. Okay, this will print 9, this will access the value 9 from the array, and this will access the value 5 because at index 1 we have the 5 stored. Similarly, if I want to access this 7, then I have to use the index 2, guys. So I have to say A of 2. This is a process of accessing the values in the array, values that are different, multiple values that are stored in the array. Now run this code, you'll get all these values. 9, 5, 7 should be printed, guys. Okay, 9, 5, and 7 got printed in the output. Fine. So this is a way to access the values that are stored in the single dimensional array. Okay. Now, so diagrammatical representation of the single dimensional array. Let me show you the diagrammatical representation of the single dimensional array. So this is a diagrammatical representation, guys. In the memory, okay, some memory will be allocated to the object. When you create an array here, like this integer array A is equal to new int of 3, like this, some memory will be allocated to the array, and that will be split into the size of the array, that is that many parts. Here 0, 1, 2 will be the index. Okay, this is array object. So its index starts with 0 to size minus 1, that is 3 minus 1 is 2, 0 to 2, 0, 1, 2. Now if you want to access these values, you have to say, if you want to assign these values, you have to say A of 0 is equal to 5, A of 1 is equal to 2, A of 2 is equal to 9, like this. If you can store the values into the array. And if you want to retrieve these values from the array, again you have to use the indexes. If you say A of 0, 5 will be printed in the output. If you say A of 1, okay, 2 will be printed in the output. If you say A of 2, this 9 will be printed in the output. Okay, as what I have explained, right? That's what is the thing. Fine. Now guys, next thing is guys, here, instead of accessing like this, okay, instead of accessing the values of the array like this, I want to use some loops. Okay, I want to use some for loop, guys. Okay, I want to use for loop for accessing these values. Okay, so generally how to use a for loop, guys? I'll use for loop like this. In one of the previous session I explained about the for loop, right? For int I is equal to, here I'll not say I is equal to 1, guys. Okay, here I want to represent I as index, guys. Okay, you can give any name here, but I'm just using I because it sounds good. I for index. I is actually standing for index, right? So you can give any name, but I'll choose I here. Instead of saying I is equal to 0, I'll say I is equal to, instead of saying I is equal to 1, I'll say I is equal to 0. The reason behind is the first value is stored at the index 0. That's why I want to start with 0, guys. Okay, then I less than 3 I have to say. I less than 3, right? That is nothing, 3 is nothing but what, guys? The size of the array. 3 is nothing but the size of the array. So I is equal to 0. I less than 3 means I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, I is equal to up to 2, right? I is equal to 0, 1, 2, 0, 1. So in the first iteration, I is equal to 0. First value will be retrieved. Then the second iteration, I want to increment the value of I. So when I becomes 1, this is second values. Then I is equal to 2. Fine. because 2 is less than 3 is fine. But again, when I becomes 3, 3 less than 3 is false, and since there are no more elements, it should be fine. Okay, so I less than 3 is fine. Then here I'll say I plus plus, guys. Okay, so here incrementation will happen. Now here I'll say sysout, that is system.out.println. I'll simply print a of I. Okay, a of I, guys. What does it mean? What does a of I mean? I stands for index, right? So how this program will run? Just see that the size of the array is 3. That's okay. So 3 values can be stored into this array. That's fine. So here int I is equal to I. The variable I got declared here and assigned with the value 0. So I'm just hoping this 0 is an index. Okay. 0 less than 3 is true. Okay. Initial value of I is 0. So 0 less than 3 is true. We'll go inside the for loop. And here a of I. A of I is nothing but 0 here. A of 0 is how much? 9 will be printed in the output. Okay. First 9 will be printed in the output. Again, I plus plus will happen where the value of I will be incremented from 0 to 1. Now I became 1. 1 less than 3 is again true. We'll go inside the for loop. A of 1. What is A of 1? 5. 5 will be printed in the output. Next, I plus plus. Now I will become from 1 to 2. Okay. It was A of 1, right? Now I became 2. I became 2. 2 less than 3 is also true. Again, we'll go inside the for loop and A of 2. What is A of 2? 7 will be printed in the output. Now I plus plus, I'll become 3. 3 less than 3 is false, will come out of the for loop. You see, it's properly working fine. No problem. Now run this code, guys. You'll get same 957 printed in the output. Okay. So instead of accessing the array elements one by one using multiple sysout statements, system.out.println statements, you can use this for loop. And inside the for loop, you write this kind of logic. You see, you'll get the same output 957. Even though there are 100 elements also, 100 values stored in the array also, with the help of for loop, it will be very easy for us to access. And there's one small change I want to do, guys. Okay, here I hard coded this size of the array. Okay, if the array size is like 5 here, this logic will not work. Right? This logic will not work, guys. I less than 3 doesn't work. Again, I have to manually come here and give 5. So, so instead of doing that, guys, instead of doing that, dynamically, if I want to mention the size of the array here, I less than the size of the array. Okay. Here, I less than 3 is nothing but 3 is the size of the array, right? Instead of saying I less than, manually giving this number here. So what we can do is we can give something known as array variable dot length. Okay, there is a predefined variable in array known as length, guys, which will give the size of the array. Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll just comment out this code first. Okay, for a while I'll comment this code, guys. So this code got commented, this portion got commented, guys, this for loop got commented, remaining all will work. So here without that for loop, if I say system.out.println, if I say the array name, that is a, and if I use the predefined variable length with this array, what will happen is this length predefined variable will give the size of the array. So what is the size of the array here? 3. So this will print 3 in the output. You see that? A dot length will give you the output as 3, guys. Okay. You see 3 got printed. That is a, so using the length predefined variable of the array, we can find the size of the array. Okay. Length is a predefined variable in arrays, which will find the size of the array. Like the size of the array is 3 here, we got the output as 3. So now we are going to use this length. I'll comment this out. So we are going to use that length predefined variable here. Okay. Instead of giving I less than 3 here, I'll simply say a dot length. So a dot length is nothing but the size of the array, that is 3. So tomorrow, if you change this program and change it to 4 also, here a dot length will be 4, right? So like that, guys, dynamically it will be changing. Fine. Anyhow, if I run this code now, I less than a dot length, and this logic will still work and we'll get the same output 957 in the output. You see? You see 957 got printed in the output. That's it. Right? It's working fine. Now, guys, I'll introduce one new type of loop known as for each loop. Okay. If you remember, guys, when I was explaining about the loops and okay, what that is what control flow statements. Okay, as part of one of the session, I explained control flow statements in Java. Okay, I said that I'll explain about for each loop. Okay, I covered while loop, do while loop, for loop, but I didn't cover this for each loop. Okay, which was part of the iterative statements under the control flow statements. Okay, so the time has now come for the for each loop, guys. Okay, so for each loop can be used with either arrays or collections framework. Okay, so the time has come for us to use the for each loop. This is the best loop that we can use with the arrays, guys. Okay, whenever you get a chance, to loop the values in this array, then better to go for the for each loop. Give the first priority to for each loop. If in case a for each loop is not possible, then only go for the other loops, guys. Okay, but the first priority you have to give for the for each loop when you work with the arrays. Okay, so instead of using this kind of traditional loops, we are going to use for each loop, guys. Okay, so for each loop is best compatible with the arrays. It most suits the arrays, and it's generally given the first priority when using some loops with the arrays, right? We generally give the first priority to the for each loops. Okay, so how to use the for each loop? So similarly, I'll write the for like this. It looks like a normal for loop, but inside this circular brackets, whatever I'm going to write will be different. Okay, so how to write this for each loop? Okay, so here, guys, inside this for each loop, inside the circular brackets, okay, here I need to provide a data type first. What should be the data type here? How many values are stored in this array? 3 values. What is the data type of each and every element or value that is stored in this array? Here 9, 5, 7. Which data type? Int data type, right? Each and every value here that is stored into this array is int data type. This 9, 5, 7 are int data type. Okay? Integer array. Values of integers will be stored into this integer array. So each and every value is a int data type. So that int you have to specify. Okay? For each and every individual values of which data type, that data type you have to specify here, followed by just give some variable name, anything, guys. Okay, so you can give something like v. Okay, v or t or f or whatever you can give. I'm just giving some variable v here. Okay, and here put a colon after this, after declaring a variable like v or something, put a colon, and after this colon, give the name of the array. What is the name of the array? A is the name of the array. Give that name, okay, of the array. That's it. Now here inside, you have to say sysout, directly print v. That's it. This is what is for each loop, guys. So how does this work? How the for each loop will work? So guys, here we stored 3 values into this array because the size of the array is also 3. So how the for each loop will work is, the first iteration, it will check how many values are there in this array. There are 3 values stored in this array. So out of these 3 values, the first value, that is 9, okay, the value of the first array element, that is 9, will be assigned to v. So if there are some values available in the array, stored in the array, then the loop will continue, and in that the first value will be assigned to v in the first iteration, and will go inside the for each loop, and here the value of v, that is nothing but 9, will be printed in the output. Okay, here in the first iteration 9 will be printed. Then afterwards, guys, again we'll come to the same for each loop starting point, and how many other, so after you assign 9, how many values are left in this array? Apart from 9, how many values are left in this array? 5 and 7 are left in this array. In that, what is the first value? 5. 5 will be assigned to v, and since there is some values left out, the for each loop will continue, and here we will be printing 5 this time. Now again we'll check, okay, this for each loop will check whether any other values still available in the array apart from this first 2 assigned values. Okay, only one value is left out. That 7 will be assigned to this v as part of the third iteration, and the loop will run, and here we will be printing this last value, that is 7, in the output. Now again we'll check a here, any other values left out in this array? No, there are 0 values left. After 957 there are no other values left. So since this, from this array we are unable to assign any value to this v, will come out of this for each loop. This is how the for each loop will work. Okay, now run this code, you'll get this 957 printed in the output. You see 957 got printed in the output. Fine. So we have to give the first priority to the for each loop when you choose a loop for arrays. Okay, for working with arrays, if you are choosing some loops, better to go with the for each loop. If for each loop is not possible, then only go for the other loops, guys. Okay, then only go for the other loops. We already demonstrated this array index out of bounds exception also for you. Okay, already demonstrated this. So here you are assigning 3 values, but if you try to assign 4th value or try to access 4th value, then you will get a problem. Okay, for example here, so if I say somewhere here, if I say sys out a of 3, does a of 3 exist, guys? A of 0 is 9, a of 1 is 5, a of 2 is equal to 7. 3, size 3 is met. But here a of 3 means 4th element, which is not there. So either you assign, try to assign a new value, a value to this 4th element, or you try to access the 4th element. In both the cases, guys, you will get array index out of bounds exception. You see, after printing 957, it has given, you try to print a of 3, which doesn't exist, right? In array, only 3 values can be, the size of the array is 3, but you are trying to access fourth element, which is not there in the array. So in this case, you will get array index out of bounds exception, okay? Like that. So only up to a of 2 you can use, a of 3 you cannot use, okay? Anywhere if you try to use a of 3, you'll get that array index out of bounds exception, that's fine. Now guys, there's one more thing left as part of the single dimensional array. I explained a lot of things about single dimensional array already, but there is one more thing that is left in the single dimensional array, that is shortcut representation of the single dimensional array. This is a traditional representation of a single directional array, guys. Okay, this is how we traditionally declare a single or create a single dimensional array. Okay, like this integer array a is equal to new integer array of 3, like that you will create. But there is a shortcut way also. Okay, so if you want to reduce these lines, okay, here you see 7, 8, 9 lines you don't want to write, and still you want to create the same array of size 3 with these 3 values. If you want to create, there is shortcut representation, guys. Okay, remove this part. After you declare this variable with integer array type, after that provide curly braces here, guys. Okay, just provide the curly braces here. In between the curly braces, you directly provide these values 9 comma, then second value 5 comma 7. Okay, put it here. Then you don't have to assign it like this. Okay, automatically it is assigned. You see the number of lines of code got reduced also, right? This is shortcut representation of the array, which is same as the traditional represent. Integer array is equal to new integer array of 3, because the size of the array is still 3, and in the first index 9 is there, second index, I mean 0th index 9 is there, index 1 5 is there, index 2 7 is there. Okay, size of the array is 3. So this same, guys. Okay, this is a shortcut representation. So we can either use a traditional representation or shortcut representation. Both will work in the same fashion. You see, like this. Fine, guys. Shortcut representation of the single dimensional array. Now coming to the next type of, or next type of the arrays. After you understand the single dimensional array, okay, now this is the right time for you to understand the two dimensional array. What are these two dimensional arrays? What are these two dimensional arrays? You need to understand first. So the representation of this two dimensional array will be like this. Here two square brackets will be there. In the single dimensional array, only one square bracket used to be there, but here now you will get two square brackets. Okay, here rows and columns are something you can say. What is this two dimensional array, guys? First of all, what is this two dimensional array? So when you create a two dimensional array, guys, in the computer memory, okay, how the array object will be stored is, array object will be stored like this, guys. Okay, so it's an array of single dimensional arrays. Okay, two dimensional array is what? In simple words, two dimensional array is what? Two dimensional array is an array of single dimensional arrays. Here one array is there. Okay, one array is there. In this single dimensional arrays are, again single dimensional arrays are there. A list of single dimensional arrays are there. Okay, so and each and every single dimensional array will have, let's say, 3 values are there in each and every single. First single dimensional array has 3 values, second single dimensional array has 3 values, and third single dimensional array has 3 values. Okay, like this. Or we can do one more thing. So we'll do something like this. Let's say this is array of single dimensional arrays. Let's say there are two single dimensional arrays here. Okay, this is an array of two single dimensional array, so that it will not confuse you. That's why I'm taking this like this. So each and every single dimensional array is having 3 slots. Okay, so first of all, here this is the memory representation, guys. Memory will be split into this kind of slots. Okay, so let's say variable a is there, array integer, integer double dimensional integer array a is referring to this object memory, array object. This is object allocated to the arrays, and this is a two dimensional array, guys. Two dimensional array in simple words is nothing but a array of, it's an array of what? Single dimensional arrays. Okay, it's an array of single dimensional arrays. Fine. So here the main array has 2 slots. The main array, okay, whatever the array you are seeing here, it's an array. This main array has 2 slots. The first slot is having the index 0, and second slot is having the index 1. And in that index 0 of the main array, you have a sub array, okay, child array. Index 0 of the higher level array, there is a child array. And this child array is again having the index 0, 1, 2. And in the index 1 of the main array, okay, or parent array, there is another child array, and this child array is also having the index 0, 1, 2. Okay, like this. So this is what is a two-dimensional array, guys. Okay, this is what is a two-dimensional array. It's an array of single-dimensional array. You see, it is an array. The first slot of this array, there is one single-dimensional array. In the second slot of the array, again there is one single-dimensional array. Already it is an array. In that array, again each and every element of the or value of the array is again a single-dimensional array. That is called as two-directional array. Okay, if you have this kind of concept, that is called as a two-dimensional array, guys. Okay, so let's see here what we can do. So here I'll remove this part and freshly write the two-dimensional array. Integer, two square brackets I have to give, variable is equal to new int of, like this I have to create. So two-dimensional array is an array of single dimensional arrays. How many single dimensional arrays? If you give two means, okay, this two-dimensional array is an array of two single dimensional array. In each and every single dimensional, these two single dimensional arrays, how many values should be there? Three values should be there, like this. Okay. So two single dimensional arrays are there, single dimensional 1, 2, and in that each and every single dimensional array we again have three values. Okay. So like this I have to create a two dimensional array. Now how to assign the values to this? Okay. A of 0, 0. Okay. A of 0, 0. A of 0, 0 is equal to, I'll say 9. A of this one is 0, 1. Okay. Here 9 came. Already 9 came, right? 9. Here A of 0, 1. A of 0, 1. A of 0, 1 is equal to, A of 0, 1 is equal to, let's say 5. I'll give 5 here. Then A of third one, 0, 2. This one is 2, guys. This one is 2. A of 0, 2 is equal to 7. So here 7 will be stored. 7 will be stored. Fine. Now here how to store these values, second array values, second single dimensional array in this array. So for that, here you see 1. Index 1, this single dimensional array is having the index 1 and individual it is having individual indexes. Okay. So if I say A of 1, 0, first slot of the array having the index 1, that is A of 1, 0. I'll give some values, like let's say 6. A of 1, A of 1, 1. Here 6 came. A of 1, 1. That is A of 1, 1. I'll give some value like let's say 3. Here 3 came. Then A of 1, 2. Last slot is A of 1, 2. A of 1, 2 is equal to, A of 1, 2 is equal to, let's say I'll give some 8. Okay. Here I'll store 8. Done. So this is what is a two-dimensional array, guys. Okay. So some people refer this concept as rows and columns. Okay. So two-dimensional array has rows and columns. 0, 1 are the rows and columns are 0, 1, 2. Okay, like this. R0, R1, C1, C0, C1, C2. Okay. Rows and columns will be there for the two-dimensional array. Rows and columns will be there for the two-dimensional array. So that is another way of representing the array, guys. Okay. So either you can treat arrays as an array of single dimensional array, or you can also understand this array as a, okay, mix of rows and columns. Okay. 2 rows and 3 columns. 2, 3 is 6 values, like this. Like this also you can understand. Now guys, how to access these values? Same way, guys. This out. Okay. System.out.println. If I say A of 0, 0, if I say, what will be printed, guys? A of 0, 0 means 9 will be printed in the output. Now if I say sys out, A of 1, sorry, A of 0, 0, 1, if I say, and what will be printed in the output? 5 will be printed in the output. If I say sys out, A of 0, 2, if I say, what will be printed in the output? 7 will be printed in the output. If I say sys out, A of 1, 1, 0, if I say, 1, 0, here it will print 6, sys out, A of 1, 1, this will print 3, you see 1, 1 is 3, so sys out, A of 1, 2. Okay. Then in this case, it will print 8, guys. Okay. So this 6 values will be printed in the output. Let's run this code. 95763 8 should be printed. This is one way of accessing the values that are stored in the 2D array. Okay. 957,638. Fine, done, right? Correct. Now instead of using this instead of individually accessing each and every value of the array, what we can do here is we can use a normal traditional for loop, guys. Okay, we can use a traditional for loop, that is for int I is equal to 0, I less than how many arrays are there, how many single dimensional arrays are there in this 2D array, two single dimensions. So I have to say 2, I less than 2, starting with the index 0 to I less than 2, and I plus plus I will say. Now inside this for loop, guys, I have to create one more for loop, a child for loop I have to create. This is the parent for loop. For this individual values of this each and every single dimensional array, again I need a child for loop, guys. Okay, for int I'll say j, guys. This time j is equal to 0, j less than what? This 3. Each and every array is having 3 values, so j less than 3 I have to say. J less than index till 0 1 2 is the index, so less than 3 I have to give. Then j plus plus I have to say j plus plus. Done. Now inside this child for loop, child for loop, I'll say this out, and I'll simply say a of first one is I, and another square bracket, second one is j, guys. Okay, like this I have to write the code. Now how this will work, let's see. Okay, how this code will work, let's see. So 2 3 is there, that's why here I is 2 and less j is 3, that's less than 3, that's fine. Now when this executes, first variable I will be declared and assigned with 0. I is 0, 0 less than 2 is true, will go inside this for loop, and where another for loop will come into picture. Here I is, the value of I is what? 0, guys, at this position. Okay, and we went inside. Here j is also 0, j is also 0. So j is also declared with int data type and assigned with 0. 0 less than 3 is also true, will go inside the inner for loop. And here a of I is 0 and j is also 0. A of 0 is 0 is how much? 9. 9 will be printed in the output. After that, here the control will go to j plus plus, guys. Okay, after printing this one, the control will go to inner for loop, so j plus plus. J value will become 1. So 1 less than 3 is 1 less than 3 is true again. We'll go inside. A of I is still 0, guys. A of 0 1. What is a of 0 1? 5. 5 will be printed. The next j plus plus j will become 2, and 2 is still less than 3. Again inner for loop. A of I is still 0 and j is become 2. A of 0 2. What is 0 2? 7. 7 will be printed in the output. Done. That's it. Now j plus plus j will become 3. 3 less than 3 is false. We'll come out of this inner for loop. Once we come out of the inner for loop, the control will go to I plus plus. I will become 1. Okay, I will become 1, guys. And 1 less than 2 is still true. Again we'll go inside this for loop, and again inner for loop will come for the second time. Again j will be declared and assigned with 0. J will become 0 here. 0 less than 3 is again true. We'll go inside. A of I is 1 and j is 0. 1 0. A of 1 0. What is A of 1 0? 6. 6 will be printed in the output. Then j plus plus j will become 1. 1 less than 3. True. A of 1 1. I is 1. J is also 1. A of 1 1 is how much? 3. 3 will be printed. Then j plus plus j will become 2. 2 less than 3 is still true. A of ij 1 2. A of 1 2. What is A of 1 2? 8. 8 will be printed in the output. Now j plus plus j will become 3. J will become 3, guys. So 3 less than 3. 3 less than 3 is still 3 less than 3 is false, right? So when j becomes 3, 3 less than 3 is false. We'll come out of the for loop and we'll go to the I plus plus here. And I plus plus I will become 2. 2 less than 2 is also false. So we'll come out of the external for loop also. The story will end here. Okay, all the values got printed by this time. All the values that are stored in the 2D array or two-dimensional array got stored. Okay, two-dimensional array is an array of single dimensional arrays, and it can be represented in the form of rows and columns also. Okay, 9 5 7 6 3 8. But I don't want the values to be printed like this, guys. Okay, I don't want these values to be printed in this manner. I want the values to be printed in this 9 5 7 6 3 8, like this kind of tabular format. I want the values to be printed. How to modify this code so that the values will not be printed like 9 5 7 6 3 8. Instead 9 5 7 6 3 8 should be printed. Further, guys, I'll remove this ln here. Okay, I remove this ln here, and this time what will happen is all the values will be printed in the same line as a single number, like this. They will be printed like this in the output, guys. Okay, if I use this print statement, it will be printed like this 957 638 like this it will be printed. As a single number it will be printed, but this is also not correct. But let's run this for now. Let's run this, guys, and see the output. You see as a single number 957638, but the problem here is here each and every value of this number is a individual number. So what I will do here is I'll append this. I'll say plus and give us. I'll append this with a space string. Okay. So what happens is after every number got printed, a space will be appended. Okay. So it will be printed like this time. This time it will be printed like this along with the spaces. 9 space, then 5 space, 7 space, like that it will be printed. Single line it will be printed with spaces. For each and every number, some space will be appended. You see, like this it will be printed. That's okay. But what I want is this format, guys. After 957, I have to go to the new line. So how to do that? You see, after every for loop, in every iteration, when every inner for loop executes, 3 values will be printed. In the first iteration, 3 values will be printed. In the second iteration of this for loop, again, next 3 values will be printed. So, but I want these 3 values to printed in the new line. For that, after this inner for loop get executed, I'll add a print statement, print ln statement. It is a print. This one is a print ln. This will take you to the new line. After printing 957 by this inner for loop, this print ln statement will run, and in the next iteration, by the next iteration comes, the control will go to the new line, and the next 3 values will be printed. This time you'll get the tabular format, guys. Rows and columns wise, it will be printed. You see 957, 2 rows and 3 columns, right? Here you see 2 rows and 3 columns, 2 rows, 3 columns, 957, 638. Okay, guys. So this is the two-dimensional array, and this is how we have to use the normal for loop with the two-dimensional array. So instead of using the normal for loop, here we are hard coding something, guys. You see this 2 and 3 we are hard coding, right? The problem is this size of the arrays, the how many single dimensional arrays are there in this 2D array that we are hard coding, and how many individual values are there in the individual single dimensional arrays also we are hard coding here as 3. So instead of giving 2 here, guys, you have to give a dot length. Okay, instead of giving 2 here, instead of giving this number 2 here, a dot length will give you the how many single dimensional arrays are there in this 2D arrays. Okay, so this predefined variable of the array will give you how many single dimensional arrays are in this array. Okay, this 2D array. So a dot length will return you 2, guys. Okay, simple words. And here coming to 3, guys, instead of giving 3 here, we have to give a of I. A of I means this a of 0 is this single dimensional array, a of 1 is this two single dimensional arrays, right? A of I means the first iteration when I is 0, a of 0 will be this. What is the size of this array? Here if I is replaced with 0, what is the size of this array? 3, right? Dot, again length we have to use, a of I dot length. The second iteration I will become 1, a of 1 dot length. What is a of 1 dot length? This is a of 1, and what is the length? Again 3. So it will come dynamically, guys. Okay, so this will work out. You see, run this code. So instead of giving hard coding this number of two-dimensional single dimensional arrays and how many values are there in each and every single dimensional array, we can write like this. You see, you got the same output. So here you have to use a dot length, here you have to use a of I dot length. Okay, fine. Now, guys, here again there is one more concept here, that is generally with arrays, which loops should be preferred, should be given first priority for each loop. Okay, but here I am not using the for each loop, I am using the traditional for loop. I'll remove this part, guys. Okay, instead of normal for loop, I'll use a for each loop. How to use a for each loop in this case? Right, for here. Okay, for, so how to do that? For each and every element is what, guys? In this two-dimensional array, each and every element is what? A single dimensional array. First element is a single dimensional array, second element is a single dimensional array. So here, what is the type of the single dimensional array? Integer array. Okay, is a single dimensional array. Okay, each and every element in this 2D array is a, each and every element, this is the first element of the 2D array, and this is the second array of the 2D array, and each and every array type is integer array. So I have to write like this: integer array, some, give some something, guys. Let's say yes, I will say s colon a, I will say. Okay, you see, and inside that, now for each and every single dimensional array I am iterating is again another for each loop I will write. For here I will say, here in each and every single dimensional array, each and every value is of which type? Integer type. Okay, in this single dimensional array, this value is of integer int type. So I'll give int here, and say v colon s. S is a single dimensional array, right? S is a single dimensional array. Now here say this out and print v. That's it. This is what we have to do, guys. Run this code. All the values of this 2D array will be printed. 957638 will be printed in the output in a while. You see, 957638. But I want this in the tabular format. What I have to do? Same thing you have to do, guys. Replace this println with normal print and append this v with some space as usual. And at the end of this inner for loop, at the end of the inner for each loop, you just write println. That's it. Okay. Now run this code. You'll get the proper output. Now run this code. You'll get the proper output. Okay. This will work in the same fashion. You see, 957638. So this is how, guys, we can use for each loop with the two-dimensional array. And one more thing, guys, you see here how many lines I have to write? Multiple lines. Line 7 to line 13 I have to write, right? So this is a traditional way of representing the two-dimensional array. But here I want to represent a shortcut representation for this two-dimensional array. For that, I'll remove this part and provide curly braces. Okay. But in this two-dimensional array, how many single-dimensional arrays are there? Single-dimensional array 1, single-dimensional array 2. 2 are there. So inside this curly braces, I'll put two more curly braces. This is the first single-dimensional array. This is the second single-dimensional array. It is an array of single-dimensional arrays separated with comma here. And the first single-dimensional array, what are the values? 9, 5, 7 are the values. 9, comma, 5, comma, last value of the first single-dimensional array of this 2D array, 7. Okay, this part is gone. Done. Now second single dimensional array has three values again. 6 comma 3 comma last value of the 2D array. This one, and remove this part, guys. Remove this part. Okay, run this code. You see, this is shortcut representation of the 2D array, guys. Okay, array of single dimensional arrays. You'll get the same output, guys. 957638. You will get the output. Okay, this is the same output you got. So this is what is a two-dimensional array, guys. Okay, in Java there are three types of arrays: single, two, and three. So for Selenium, as part of Selenium, you just have to learn single and two, and three is not required. So I'm not covering as part of this series. Fine. So now, guys, let me finish up this array. There are a few more things that are left with this arrays. Okay, before I wind up the arrays, now you know what exactly the arrays and how to store multiple values into the single variable using the arrays, that is using the single dimensional or two dimensional. You understood now. So, but here so far whatever the examples I have taken the integer only, int data type only for this arrays. Okay, so is it possible for us to use a other type of data types? For example, here if I say integer array a is equal to, I'll use a shortcut representation 9 comma 5 comma 7. If I say this, okay, this is fine. But what if I say 5.5 here, 9.2 here, 7.4 here? What happens? It's not accepting because the type of this, the data type of this array is int data type. If you want to store this kind of values, you have to change this into two double, guys. Okay, just change it to double. You see, decimal values are allowed now. Okay, so you can create different data types of arrays, guys. Okay, so if you want to store some characters, let's say chars. Okay, so let's say a comma r comma u comma n. Okay, arun. Now, so this is okay because internally it is converting the char to the number and ASCII kind of thing. But here I can give char. Okay, character array. I can create an array of boolean values also, true comma false. Okay, if I give true false here, the type of the array should be boolean. Like this, there are different data type declarations we can do. Okay, we can declare the arrays with different data types. Based on the type of the values that you are storing into this array, we can specify that particular data type for this array. Okay, that particular data type we can specify the array based on the type of the values we are storing into this array, a particular array. If you are storing boolean values, the array type should be boolean. If you are storing integer values, the type of the array should be int data type, integer array type. Okay, so if you are storing decimal values, double array, character values, char array, like that. Okay, different type of arrays are possible. So what if, okay, what if, okay, so fine, arrays and different data type. Disadvantages I'll tell you, guys now. Let's understand the disadvantages of the array, guys. Okay, let's say I'll create an array here. Integer array a is equal to, okay, new int of 3 I'll say, and a of 0 is equal to 9, a of 1 is equal to 5, a of 2 is equal to 7. Now here I'll say this out. Okay, so I'll say for each and every, okay, value in this array, print each and every value of this array in using the for each loop. V colon a, that is array a is array here, and here I'll say simply I'll say sys out v. Okay, so now guys, just understand this. Now guys, this is all good so far. Okay, the program is good so far. Run this code, you'll get the output also. 957 will be printed in the output, but there is a problem. There is a disadvantage with the arrays, guys. Okay, but there is a disadvantage with the arrays. The arrays are fixed in size. Fixed in size. So here is the only line where you have to change the size of the array. Once you fix the size here, you cannot change the size at later portion of the program. For example, if I say a of 3 is equal to, I try to increase the size of the array by assigning one more value here like this, a of 3. Is it possible, guys? Is it possible? A of 3 is equal to 8 and I want to print all the values of the array. Okay, so is it possible, guys? This is not possible, guys. At this line you are going to get an exception known as array index out of bounds exception. You are going to get. What is the reason behind this exception? You see here you are fixing the size of the array, but here you are trying to change the size of the array, which is not possible in Java. Okay, once you fix the size of the array, that array size will be fixed and those many values only you can store. But in between the program, if you want to, if you are want to or try to change the size of the array by trying to assign more values to this array, this will not be accepted because arrays are fixed in size. This is one of the drawback. Okay, in arrays this is the drawback is. Okay, this is a drawback in array. Arrays are, what is the drawback of arrays? Arrays are fixed in size. So what is the solution for this particular drawback? What is the solution, guys? Solution is collections framework. Okay, so the next session I'll be explaining other concepts, remaining concepts of Java again, where I'll be covering the collections framework for you guys. Okay, so collections framework are nothing but the solutions for the fixed sizeness of the arrays. Okay, arrays are fixed in size but collections are not fixed in size. Okay, so for now just understand that arrays are fixed in size and that is the disadvantage of the array, and the solution for this problem of the arrays where arrays are fixed in size is collections framework, which are variable in size. Okay, they don't get fixed. Okay, during the declaration, like it doesn't, you will not fix any size for the collections during the declaration, and collections can either shrink or grow. Okay, they can either shrink or grow, guys. Okay, they can grow in size, they can reduce in size. They are very flexible. Collections are very flexible in size. They can, during the program, as a program runs, okay, as the lines get executed, you can either change the size of the collections. You can either reduce or increase the size of the collections dynamically. But coming to the arrays, you cannot do that, guys. Once you fix the size of the array in the first line here, when you create the array, later part of the program, you cannot change the size of the array. Okay, arrays are fixed in size, and solution is collections framework, which are variable in size. Fine. This is one of the disadvantage of the array. So now one more problem I will explain, guys. Okay, the other problem here is, I'll remove this stuff. So inside the main method, I'll create an array, guys. Integer array a is equal to, here I can only store the integer values 9, 5, 7 I can store, right? So is there any way where I can store different type of data? For example, if I give 9.2, 5.3, 7.4 here, then I have to make it double, right? Like that, I have to change the data type of the array. But is there any single type of array where I can store different type of values? For example, one value like 9, then other value like 5.3, comma, I want to store s, then I want to store boolean value. Okay, and I want to store some string literal, let's say Arun. Okay, different type of data I want to store into the same array variable. Okay, here each and every value is of different data type, guys. I want to store into a single array. Is it possible? If I declare with int, this is not possible. If I change it to double, again this is a problem, guys. Okay, double also is a problem. You see, these two are not still gone, right? Double is also a problem. If I say char, you see these three are problem. If I say boolean, apart from this true, everything is a problem. So I cannot fix this particular array to a particular type to store multiple type of values. But is there any way this problem is resolved? Is there any way where we can overcome this problem? Okay, I'll tell you guys. Okay, I'll tell you. So this topic is accompanied with some other topic. Okay, in order to understand this concept, okay, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to store the data of different data types into a single variable array. Okay, in the single array variable, I want to store different types. How this is possible in Java? There is a way, guys. Okay, there is a way to store multiple type of values into a single array variable, and to understand that way, you have to understand this wrapper classes concept. Okay, time has come for us to understand this wrapper classes concepts. Okay, so guys, let's understand this concept first. Okay, then we'll go back to the arrays wrapper classes. So guys, thing is, there are different primitive data types in Java, right? There are different primitive data types in Java, as explained in the when I started Java in this training series, right? I explained it. There are different data types in Java. One is byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These are the different primitive data types or data types. I generally call that as data types. Okay. You can also call them as primitive data types. Primitive data types. These are the primitive data types in Java, guys. Okay. These are the primitive data types or data types in Java. Are these primitive data types or data types like byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean are object oriented or non-object oriented? These are all are non-object oriented. Okay. These are all are what? Non-object oriented, guys. Okay. They are not object oriented. Non-object. Non-object oriented. They are not surround with objects. There is no concept of objects in this case. Okay. You see, when you say int a is equal to 5, you will say. You will not say like int a is equal to new int of 5. You will not say, right? This is not correct approach, right? Do you create an object? If you want to store this value 5 into this variable a, do you create object like this? This is wrong. This part is wrong, right? This highlighted line is wrong. We don't generally create an object for storing this value into this variable. That means, okay, that means the variables which are declared with the data types, primitive data types, are not object oriented. They are non-object oriented. These are non-object oriented. They don't surround with objects. Okay, they are not related to object oriented concepts of Java. So that means, is Java 100% object oriented then? Is Java 100% object oriented language, programming language? What is the answer, guys? Answer is no. Java is not 100% object oriented programming language. The reason here is because of the primitive data types. What is the reason? In Java, primitive data types, primitive data types like byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean are non-object oriented. They are not object oriented. That means Java is not 100%. Java is an object oriented programming language, but it's not a, I'm here asking for 100%. Is it 100% object oriented? No. Okay. Most of the percent of the Java is object oriented, but because of this primitive data types or data types that are there in the Java, Java is not 100% object oriented language. Okay. This primitive data types, except this primitive data types in Java, all the other things in Java are object oriented. Okay. Fine. Why? Why Java has kept this primitive data types as non-object oriented? You see, thing is, when the Java was invented and all those stuff, okay, they thought that if they make this basic operation elements like basic operated data types, generally, guys, if you want to store data, data types are required, right? Right? If you want to store data types are required. So these are generally used here and there in the Java programming language. Mostly used things are data types. And if you make them object oriented type, Java people have thought that it will consume a lot of memory. Okay, lot of memory and resources it will consume. Object oriented means some weightage will be there. Okay, so it will consume some memory, more memory it will consume. So they wanted the Java programming to be kind of lightweight, and since this particular data types are mostly used in the programming, they thought of making them as non-object oriented type so that they will not consume too much of memory. Okay, they will not consume too much of memory. To reduce the amount of the memory consumed by these data types, Java guys or Java developers have made these primitive data types as non-object oriented. That's why Java is not 100% object oriented with a cause. Okay, they don't want to waste the memory. Fine. So object oriented things will consume a lot of memory, whereas data types will not consume a lot of memory. Okay, so that's it. That's the reason, guys, why data types or primitive data types are non-object oriented in Java, and why Java is not a 100% object oriented programming language. So fine, but there may be coming a situation where there may come a situation where, okay, there may come a situation where this non-object oriented primitive data types, data that is stored into this non-object oriented primitive data types need to be used as objects. During the programming, we have to use the value stored into these variables of these primitive data types as objects. So there may come a situation where we have to use this data as object type. Instead of normal data, we have to use the object that is stored into this primitive data types as objects. In that case, Java has come with another solution wherever it is demanded that you have to use the data stored in this primitive data types as object types, then assign this data of these data types to their wrapper classes. Okay, so some predefined wrapper classes are in there in Java, guys, for each and every primitive data type here. So here for byte, guys, okay, for byte, you see lowercase byte is there here. You see first letter is byte. This is a predefined wrapper class in Java associated with this primitive data type. Okay, so if you want to store some data into this byte primitive data type and later you want to use the data as an object oriented, then you have to convert using this byte. Okay, wrapper class. For short, there's another wrapper class known as short. For int, there's another wrapper class known as integer. For long, there is something known as long. For float, there is float. For double, there is double. These are all wrapper classes, guys. Okay, these are predefined classes in Java. For char, there is character. For boolean, there is boolean. Okay, so these are the associated wrapper classes for this primitive data types in Java, guys. There may be coming a situation where the data stored into this primitive data types need to be used in programming as objects. In that case, you will convert this byte to byte wrapper class. Okay, so how to do that? For example, here, guys, if I say int a is equal to 5, and let's say this 5 need to be used. This is a primitive data type. Okay, it's not object. This 5 is not of object, right? It's not stored in the object. But if you want to use this 5 as an object type, in that case, what I will do is I will use something known as integer. Okay, ao is equal to a, I will say. What happens here? The value that is there 5 here will be converted into integer, that is object. Will be converted to object. This is a normal value. That 5 will be converted to kind of object. Okay, so it will be stored in the object rather than normally stored in the Java. Okay, so if I want to convert this normal thing into object, I have to use respective wrapper classes. Okay, for int there is integer, guys. Similarly, for other data types there are other wrapper classes like this. Okay, now I can use this AO as an object. Okay, wherever the programming needs for the object oriented type, I can use AO. Okay, I cannot use A, guys. A is not object oriented type and the program will not accept, let's say. And if a program only accepts the objects, then we can give AO here. By converting this A to AO, we can do that. Okay, object oriented type we can convert. Okay, so for each and every primitive data type, there is a wrapper class in Java which will convert this normal data into the object oriented data. Okay, object type of data. The convenience is there, guys. Even though Java is not 100%, Java has given a convenience where you can use the primitive data types also as objects. Fine. Fine, all good, guys. All good. So what if I'm here creating integer array? Okay, integer array a is equal to 9 comma. Let's go back to the arrays concept. Okay, we are done with the wrapper classes concept, guys. Wrapper classes concept is done. Let's move on to this arrays topic where this problem we are trying to solve. I want to store different type of data, right? So 5.5, then some s, some boolean value, some text like this. Okay, so integer data type is not able to assign. Okay, so can I provide integer wrapper class? Still the problem is there, right? Integer wrapper class also problem is there. Can I provide double wrapper class? Problem is there. Character wrapper class. Okay, problem is there. Boolean wrapper class. Problem is there. I cannot even replace the normal data types into the wrapper classes and solve this problem still. But there is a solution, guys. For all these wrapper classes that I just now explained, for all these wrapper classes, there is a parent class. Okay, for this byte, short, integer, long, float, double, character, boolean, there is a parent class in Java, guys, that is known as object class. Okay, object class is a predefined class in Java which is the parent of all the classes in Java. What is the object class? Understand this object class, guys, very important. Okay, object class in Java is a parent of all the classes, not only these wrapper classes. All the classes in Java are the child classes of this parent class. Okay, parent of all the classes in Java. Okay, the parent of all the class in Java is a object class. That means here for Boolean, object is a parent class. For integer also, for this class also, object is a parent class. For float, object is a parent class. Even for string also, string is also a predefined class in Java. Okay, string also object is a parent class. Any class you take as Boolean also, the parent class is the object class. How can I prove that object is a parent class of all the class in Java? So for that we can go to the library of Java, guys. Java 8 or Java 17 API library, let's say, and go to the library of the Java, guys. So at this moment we are using the 17 JDK 17. That's why I just said 17. So we are in the library file of this Java 17, and here, okay. So this is how it looks. The documentation is a bit different, right? Class, what is this? 1 minute. Let me go back. Come back here again. So fine. So where is the index? I'll click on the index. Let's see what will come. This is the index. Module package class use. What is this use? So they have represented the library in a different format. Now I'll say overview now. Okay, this is a bit different. So they have divided into the packages and all those stuff, modules and all. Okay, Java SC, JDK, other. So module wise I have to go, guys. Okay, if I give this package, then the respective classes will come, I guess. So I feel the older way of accessing the library is better. So let me go back here, and I will search for this Java 8. Okay, so that you can understand this concept well. Java 8 API library, I will say. I'll go to this location. So this looks good for me. So that I can find all the classes and things. Fine. So guys, take any class in Java, guys. All the class in Java are the child classes of the object class. Okay. Take this abstract action class. Okay. Click on this. You see, abstract action class is a child of the object. Object class is a parent of the abstract class. Take randomly scroll here and go find some class. Base64 is a class, predefined class in Java. You see, for that also object is a parent class. Scroll down again somewhere here. Scroll and randomly choose one class. Okay, holder is one class, and to the holder also object is a parent class. So object is a parent class of all the classes in Java, guys. Okay, no matter which class you will take. Control F. If I say integer wrapper class, oh, sorry, I just missed it. Integer is a wrapper class in Java. You see, predefined class in Java. For that also, object is a parent class. You see, on the top object is there for integer. So anything, any class you take, string class also. If you take string class also, same thing, guys. Okay. For string class also, if I say control F string, okay, a lot of strings are there. That's okay. So on the left side, we have to find, guys. Okay, it's finding here only. So let's go here to all classes, and otherwise back, back, back. Yeah, click on this, and now say control F and say search for string. This time it will come. Yeah, string is a predefined class in Java, and for string also object is a parent class. So whatever the class you take in Java, guys, for all the classes object is a parent class. So here instead of giving integer, boolean, character, double, just give object, guys, because object is a parent class of all the class in Java. You see, the problem is resolved. You can store the values of different data types into a single object array. That is possible. Using arrays, we can store multiple values. Okay. So if someone asks you, can we store the values of different data types into a single array variable? You can say yes, that is possible with the help of object array, because object is a parent class of all the class in Java, and that's why this is possible. Okay. That's why this is possible. Fine, guys. You can still access also. If you want to access, you can access also, guys. Okay. For each and every element in this particular, each and every element in this array, object array, is of which type? Object type, right? It is of object. This is object. This is object. Now here, I have to give the data type as object, colon VA, and sys out. Just print that V. You see, all the values will be printed now. Like this, guys. If you want to store values of different data types into an array, single array, then we can use object array. Then we can take the help of the object array, where object is a parent class of all the class in Java, and that's why this kind of situation is possible. Okay, fine guys, it's all about the arrays. And as part of this arrays, I also covered, you see, as part of explaining the arrays, I also covered the wrapper classes, guys. Okay, why wrapper classes are required. And okay, so just to explain about the object, I have to explain about the wrapper classes. Okay, just to explain about object class and why this type of values can be stored into the object array, I have to, as part of the arrays, I have to explain about the wrapper class also. So this topic is also done now. So to conclude this session, guys, I have there are two more topics actually. Okay, so apart from arrays and wrapper classes, I need to explain two more topics, that is string class, string predefined class, and its predefined methods I have to explain. And finally, I have to explain about the exception handling. Those are the two other topics I need to cover before I wrap up this session. So now let's go with the string class. String is a predefined class in Java. Let me explain about the string class now. As explained in one of the previous sessions, string is not a data type in Java. Instead, string is a predefined class in Java. So let's Google search for Java 8 API library and go to the library. Say Control F and search for string, guys, and find the string class. Here is the string class. As mentioned, string in Java is not a data type. Instead, it is a predefined class. Okay, it's a predefined class, and this string class contains a lot of predefined methods. You see, these are all the predefined methods of the strings, guys. Okay, these are all the predefined methods of the string class in Java. So one method is caret, other one is concat, then other one is equals. Okay, so like the different predefined methods, index of, isempty, join, length. Okay, length, and many more are there. Okay, split and all those stuff. So string is a predefined class in Java, and it has a lot of predefined methods. So now let's get started with the string class, guys. How to use a string class? Already we were using the string class, right? If you have seen the previous sessions, already I have explained about the string class. I have used the string class. Okay, string name is equal to, okay, like this I can use Arun Moturi. Okay, my name. This representation I already used as part of the previous session, but this is not the actual representation, guys. Okay, this is not the actual representation of the string class. If you want to store this text, okay, string text into a variable, you have to declare that variable with string class, but this is not the actual representation. Okay, so actual representation is something different, guys. Okay, if you have to actually different kind of, okay, create the string name is equal to new string of, we need to create an object for the string class, guys. Okay, in Java we have to create the objects for the classes, right? This is the actual represent of the string, guys, and where we have to assign the data. Then here inside this constructor, string class constructor, I have to pass my name. This is the actual representation of the string. This is the actual representation of strings in Java. Okay, in Java, if you want to represent in actual way, this is the thing, but no one uses this actual representation, guys. Everyone uses the uh, general representation of the strings. Okay, instead of the actual representation, the normal shortcut representation like a string name is equal to Arun Motri kind of thing people use. Okay, so this is not generally used by everyone. So people always use this representation, okay, which is internally converted into, okay, this particular shortcut representation is internally considered as string name is equal to new string of Arun Motori. Okay, so that will be taken care by Java internally. So this is actual representation, this is the shortcut representation. Now let's understand one more thing known as concatenating two strings. For example, here guys, if, instead of giving my name here, I'll say string first name. Okay, so if you see this variable, guys, okay, if you see this variable has two words. Which kind of naming convention I have used for creating the variables? Lower camel case or upper camel case? This is lower camel case. Just understand this concept, guys, because this one is important. Naming conventions, okay? Naming conventions in Java. So if you, when you create a project, okay, what is the naming convention you follow for providing a project name? That is upper camel case. Okay, upper camel case. Okay, upper camel case. But what about this class name? Java file name or class name? What is the naming convention? For the class name, guys, the naming convention is again upper camel case. What about methods? Methods in Java. What type of naming convention? Method names in Java. Lower camel case. What about variable? Variable names. Variable names are also lower camel case. Fine. There is one more thing, guys. Like that is packages in Java. So I didn't explain the packages concept in detail, but coming to the packages, I just gave you a heads up, right, for packages. So coming to packages, guys, packages names, we follow complete lowercase. Lowercase. It's not lower camel case, it's complete lowercase. Okay, all the letters are lower. So these what are the general naming conventions, guys, that we have to remember as part of writing the Java code that everyone follows. Fine. Anyhow, string first name. I'll give my first name as Arun. String, one more string, that is last name. I'll give that as Motori. Now I want to create a full name out of this. Okay, using this first name and last name, I want to create a full name out of this. For example, string full name is equal to first name. How to club this first name with the last name? How to attach this first name with last name? For that, guys, there are two ways. Okay, there are two ways. First way is by using, there is a predefined method in string class, guys. Okay, if you go to the API library of string class, there is a predefined method in string class. This is a string class actually. You see, string is a predefined class. It has some predefined methods. One of the method we have here is concat. Can you see that concat method? So here what I have to do is I have to simply say first name dot concat, and inside this concat I need to pass the last name. This is one way. Okay, this is the one way, guys. If I say sysout, and if I print this full name, you'll get my full name, guys. Okay, my first name will be clubbed with the concatenated with this last name, and full name will come here. Okay, if I run this code, you see the output, you'll see Arun Motori will be printed. You see Arun Motori got printed. My first name and last name got attached together, right? This is what is a concat. So instead of using the concat, guys, there's one more way. Okay, instead of concatenating like this using a predefined method of string class, we can make it bit simple. That is first name plus. I have to use operator, that is addition operator, but here in this context, you should not call this as addition operator. Instead, you have to add this plus symbol as a concatenation operator. First name plus last name. Okay, here this plus operator is used as concatenation. It will concatenate or attach or combine or club these two strings into single string. So run this code, you'll get Arun Motori again, club it together. Okay, you'll get the full name printed in the output. You see, full name got printed in the output. But guys, here when you have seen the output, guys, when you have seen the output, there should be some space between my first name and last name, right? The space is not coming. How to get that done? For that, guys, here I'll say plus. I'll give some double quotes. Again, say plus, and in this double quotes, I'll provide some space. So here, this is the first string text. First name, that is Arun. This Arun will be concatenated with this space, single space, and this Arun and space will be concatenated with the last name, that is Motori. Okay, so finally Arun space Motori will come in the output now. When you print the full name now, it will give Arun space Motori. You see, this is a proper format, right? So here plus can be used as a not only addition operator in Java but also as an concatenation operator in Java. Okay, so this is the easiest way, right? Plus is kind of very easy compared to the predefined method of the string class. Okay. So fine. Anyhow, let's work out on something. Okay. So if I say int a is equal to 5, int b is equal to fine, no problem. Int a is equal to 5, or I'll say string name is equal to, I'll give my name Arun for now. Okay. Then I'll say int a is equal to 5, int b is equal to 4. Now here I'll say sysout system.out.println. I'll say system.out.println. I'll say name plus a plus b. Like this I'll write. What will be the output, guys? What do you think will be the output? Here, the plus is used as a concatenation or addition operator. Here name is a string and remaining two variables are integers, or we are going to get any error? No guys, we are not going to get any error. But here what happens is you will get the output as Arun 54. The output will be what? Arun 54. You may or may not have expected this outcome, right? The reason behind that is, you see, when this print statement get executed, first it will take the name, that is Arun string text, and here plus. When you use plus with string text, it will be automatically considered as a concatenation operator, not a addition operator. So Arun will be concatenated with the number 5. So up to here it will be concatenated first. Okay, Arun 5. Till here is Arun 5. So this will become a string text again. Arun 5 is a string text, and this Arun 5 string text will be again concatenated with one more number, that is 4. So it finally becomes Arun 5 4 string text. Okay, this is not a number, guys. This all these things will be concatenated together as a strings. Okay, fine. But there is a way, guys. Okay, there is a way. You can add this a plus b despite of this string. You can add a plus b. The way is you have to just surround with this a plus b with the circular brackets. In Java, if you provide circular brackets, this will be calculated first before concatenating the string text. The portion that is there inside circular brackets will be concatenated first. Okay, I mean, operated first. Okay, the the highlighted thing will be operated first before even concatenated with the name. Okay, before this name is concatenated with any of these numbers, first a plus b will happen. What is a plus b? A is 5 and b is 4. Both are numbers, guys. Both are numbers. 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. So here string text Arun will be concatenated with 9. So Arun 9 will be printed. See, this time it will be Arun 9. Okay, Arun 9. So I'll give you one realistic example, guys. Okay, so I'll say, here I'll say, guys, this is out. Okay, this is out. The sum of A and B is colon, I'll say plus A plus B. What will be the output, guys, for this? What will be the output? Here, this portion is a string text, right? The sum of A and B is a string text, and this string text is first concatenated. You see, this plus will not act like a addition. Here A plus B will not be added first. Here, the string text will be first concatenated with A. So sum of A and B is 5 as a string. Okay, as a string it will be concatenated. Sum of A and B is 5 will be the resultant string. That resultant string will be again concatenated with B, guys, that is 4. So sum of A and B is 54 will be printed. You may be shocked why we got the output, right? Sum of A and B is 54. Why we got this kind of output? You may get shocked. Okay, this is not the correct one. So that's the reason, guys. In this kind of situations where you use A plus B here, you want to get a proper result. Sum of A and B is 9. You want to get here. Surround this A plus B with circular brackets. Okay. The moment you surround this A plus B with circular brackets, before this particular string test is concatenated with these numbers, okay, first this circular bracket portion will be operated. That is A plus B will be done first. That A is an integer, B is an integer. 5 plus 4 is 9. Now the string text will be concatenated with the number 9. So sum of A and B is 9 will be printed in the output. This time you'll get a proper output. You see, I have run the program. You'll get sum of A and B is 9 will be the correct output will come. So guys, you should be very careful when you are using the concatenation operator, that is plus operator. Okay. So sometimes it will add, sometimes it will concatenate. So based on your required output, you have to use the plus operator properly. Okay. Fine. Now guys, apart from this concatenation and all, there are a lot of predefined methods in string class, right? So I already told you, like, there are a lot of predefined methods. This is a complete list of predefined methods of the string class. So in this session, I'm not going to explain each and every predefined method of the string class because that will take a lot of while. Okay. If I keep on explaining all these predefined methods of the string class, that will take a lot of while and will go out of the context as part of Selenium learnings. Okay. This is a Selenium tutorial, not Java, right? So what I will do here is I have collected few important predefined methods of the string class which we generally need in Java. Okay, when you're working with Java, these predefined methods of the string class are regularly used. Okay, as part of Selenium automation and all. So let's learn only this set of predefined methods out of all this complete list of predefined methods of the string class. So to get started, guys, we'll start with the equals predefined method. Okay, let's find this equals predefined method in this library of the Java. Where is equals? You see this one, guys, equals. Okay, equals predefined method. So what is this equals? So guys, for example, if you have something in A is equal to 5, int B is equal to 4. Okay, if I have to compare these two numbers, guys, this 5 and 4 are numbers. So in this case, I have to say A double equal to B. This is the correct format. Okay, int c is equal to 5 if I say again. So if I say sysout a equal to c, okay, a equal to c. So thing here is, here if you want to compare two numbers, then you have to use this double equal to operator. Okay, these are two numbers. These are all numbers. Numbers comparison should be done using this double equal to operator. Okay, not only numbers but other type of things, other type of literal also is possible, except strings, guys. Okay, for strings you should not be using like this kind of operator. I'll tell you. Now if you run this code, guys, either you will get true or false in the output. For the first one you will get false, for the second one you will get true, because 5 and 5 are equal. You see, first one is false, second one is true, right? That's what you'll get. So now here I'll remove this part, and in this case I'll say string name1 is equal to, I'll say Arun. String name2 is equal to Varun. String name3 is equal to again Arun. Like this, I'll create an example. Now here I want to compare this string text with this string text and this string text with this string text. For this, I should not be using the double equal operator. That's not correct, guys. Okay. So in Java, we should not be using double equal to operator for comparing two strings. Okay. If there is a situation where you have to compare two strings, then you have to use which operator? There is no operator, guys. Rather, we have a predefined methods known as predefined method in string known as equals method. Okay. So how to do that? So here I have to say name1 dot equals okay, this one, second one, name1 dot equals. In that we have to provide the second string, that is name2. Are they both equal or not? Here I am not using the double equal to operator, I am using the equals method. Name1 dot equals name2, correct or not? So true or false? Arun is equal to Varun? No, it should result in false. Let's see. Now similarly, if I say this out, okay, if I say this out, name1 dot equals name3. Okay, this will return true, guys, because name1 is Arun, name3 is also Arun, so this should result in true. Let's run this code and see. We should get false and true as output. You see, false and true as output, expected output, right? Similarly, we have one more method known as equals ignore case, guys. For example, if I have lowercase a here, this Arun will not be equal to this Arun, because here capital A is there, here lowercase. In this case also you'll get false this time. Sorry. In this case also we'll get false, case, because why we get false here is, you see, the name1 is Arun, but name3 is lowercase Arun. So here capital uppercase A is there, lowercase a is there in the Arun, which will not match in the case. So equals will compare the case also. So it will result in false, you see. So both the cases will get false, guys. Okay, even though name1 and name3 look similar, but here false because of case sensitiveness. Okay. So if you don't want to consider the case, in that case, instead of using equals, there is a one more method known as dot equals ignore case. Okay, this one will ignore the case. Okay, unlike equals, this particular equals ignore case will ignore the case. This one will be treated as same as Arun, even though the case is different. It is going to ignore the case, and here you are going to get true here. Okay, we are going to get true here. Run this code, guys. You'll get false and true. Okay, you'll get false and true. You see, false and true, you'll get the output. Okay, so guys, this is what. Okay, this is what. These are equals, and there is one more thing known as equals ignore case. Both are kind of good, and we can use them in the Selenium automation also. Okay, next one is to find the size of the, okay, for example, guys, to find the size of the array. For example, if I want to create an array here, let's say a is equal to, I'll give some list of values 9 comma 5 comma 7 comma 8 comma 6 comma 0 comma, okay, 4 comma 2, like this, some values I gave. I want to find the size of this array, and to find the size of the array, this out. Okay, we have to say this out. Using this array, have to say a dot length. There is a predefined variable in arrays known as length predefined variable, using which we can find the size of the arrays as explained, right, in the previous topic. In the previous topic here, when I was explaining about arrays, I explained you about this length predefined variable. This will give the size of the array, guys. The length of the array, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 should be printed in the output. Let's see. 8 should be printed in the output, guys. Okay. You see, 8 got printed in the output. But for printing the size of the string text, the length of the string text. Okay, string. If I say, if I give something like tap string, or else here only I'll give guys. It's not good with these strings. String name is equal to, if I give something like Arun here, and I want to find the size of this string text. Okay, I want to find the size of this string text. Okay, what is the length of this? I want to find. How to do that, guys? So for this, guys, for this, I'll say, I just commented it out. Give me a second. So how to find the size of the string text? Okay, to find the size of the string text, system.out.println, say name dot what? It's not name dot length, it's name dot size, or name dot, it's not even size, it's length. It's also length, guys, but there is a difference. It's a length predefined variable. This is a length predefined method. Okay, so let's write down here arrays. If you want to find the size of the arrays, there is a length predefined variable. This is predefined variable. Okay, for finding the size of the arrays, there is a length predefined variable, but for finding the size of the string text, you have to use length predefined method. Okay, predefined method is there. They look similar, but arrays variable string method. Okay, that's the difference. Now run this code, you will get the size of this string text. Okay, using this length predefined method. Okay, there's one predefined method in the string class, that is a length predefined method, which will find the size of the string text. You see 12. Let's find 1, 2, 3, 4, including space, guys. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is the size of my string text. Okay, my name. Done. So this is one example. Okay, so another predefined method of string class, guys, length predefined method. In arrays, we have length predefined variable, whereas for string test, for finding the size or length, we have to use length predefined method. Now next one is substring, guys. We also may need or use this substring. Substring also we generally use, guys. Okay, let's say string name is equal to Arun Motori. Same thing I'll give, and here I want to retrieve this only Arun part. Okay, I want to retrieve only this Arun part. What I will do is I'll say string, or I'll simply say this out name dot substring. I'll say name dot substring, and here I need to provide some values, guys. Okay, I have to give the index. Okay, starting index, that is from where I want to start and where I want to end, kind of thing. So let's say I want to only retrieve this portion. Motori I want to retrieve. I don't want this portion. Okay, so 0, 1. Starting with index 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting from 5, I want to take it. Okay, let's see. Substring of index you have to give. Okay, begin index. From where you want to cut it. So out of this entire string, I want to retrieve some portion of the string. Let's say this portion I want to retrieve. Then I have to give the index of this yum, guys. From where I have to start till the end. That is till index 5 till the end. That is yum index is 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the index. Here I have to give the index, guys. Now run this code. You see only this portion of this particular text will be printed in the output. Okay, you see only my name, last name got printed in the output. Similarly, there is another variation of the substring also, guys. An overloaded method of the substring is there. If you say substring, you see the overloaded methods are coming. Okay, I explained about overloading concept in the one of the previous sessions, right? Previous sessions of the Java in this training series, right? Here only begin index you can give, or you can give begin and end index also. Okay, there are two things here. Okay, so let's go with the second variation, where just put a comma here, and in the first one you give let's say I want to retrieve, this time I want to retrieve this moto, only moto. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting with index 5, and till o I have to take. Okay, I have to give the position of o, guys. I should not be giving the index of the o. So here first thing I have to give the index of yum, but the last index I should not be giving as index. It should be a position, guys. Okay, I have to start with one, guys. Index I'll start with 0, 1, 2, right? But position I have to start with first position, second position, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth I have to give. Okay, 9 I have to give. Instead of giving 8 here, just give 9, guys. Okay, that's what is followed in Java. Run this, guys. You will get moto printed in the output now. You see moto got printed in the output. This is how, guys, we can use substring predefined method of the string class in Java. Now the next one is a trim, guys. Okay, trim. What is this stream? So guys, I'll say string name is equal to Arun Motori. This is fine, but if in case, if you give a lot of leading spaces and trailing spaces here, okay, if you give a lot of leading spaces and trailing spaces, now print it otherwise, okay, print the name here, the output, what will come, let's see. You see, along with the leading spaces and trailing spaces, my name got printed, my full name got printed, but I don't want my name to be printed like this. Instead, I will say name dot trim. Okay, if I say name dot trim, what will happen is it will remove the before spaces and after spaces. Leading means before spaces, trailing means after spaces. Okay, in between spaces will not be removed, guys. Only the before and after spaces will be, only this portion and this portion will be removed. And see here, this time it will not print with spaces. Leading and trailing spaces will not be there. You see no leading and no trailing spaces. Okay, in between space will not be removed by this stream, guys. Okay, this is what is streaming. So some situations will come where you have to trim the required string text in Selenium automation as part of taking the help from the stream method of the string class in Java. As part of Selenium scenario, we may have to trim some string text. Okay, so that may happen real time. Okay, so next one is index of. Next, another predefined important predefined method of the string class is index of. Okay, I'll say string. Okay, string str is equal to, I'll say my name is Arun Motori. Okay, I love Java programming, I'll say. Okay, I love Java programming. Like this, I'll write. Now, guys, what I will do here is I want to find whether Java is available in this string text or not. Okay, that's what is my purpose. I want to find whether Java is available in this string text or not. How to find this out? How to find this out? With the help of index of, I can find it out, guys. Okay, for example, if I print str dot index of here double quotes, I'll give Java. Then I'll get some index, right? I'll get the index of this Java, where the Java has there in this particular string text. So if you calculate the index here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 is the index of the Java, right? Run this code, you will get 32 printed in the output now. You see 32 got printed in the output. That means if you are getting a positive number here, that means this particular text is available in this string text. Okay. What if I give Python here? Is Python available in this string text anywhere? No, right? In this case, this Python will be searched with the string text and nowhere it is found, and it will return you some number known as -1. A negative number -1 will be returned. In this case, you can understand that this text is not available in the string text. Okay. You see -1. So generally we write something like this, guys. Okay. If str dot index of Python, okay, okay, str dot index of string dot index of Python is, okay, is not equal to -1. Okay, if it is not equal to -1, then this out Python is available in the given string. Okay, in the given string, Python is available in the given string. Else you will say this out Python is not available in the given string text. Okay, in the given string text, like this I'll write. So if I run this code, guys, what will be the output? So is Python available in this thing? No, right? And when you say str.index of Python means it will return you what? -1. So -1 not equal to -1, true or false? False, right? -1 is equal to -1. So it will return false. If this condition is false, the else block will be executed and Python is not available in the given string text will be printed in the output. You see, run this code. Python is not available in the given string text will be printed. Similarly, if I give Java here, str.index of Java not equal to -1. In this case, what will happen? This str.index of Java will return you 32. 32 not equal to -1 is true. So by Java is available in the given string text will be printed in the output. Okay, run this code. Since it is true, this block will be executed. Java is available in the given string text will be printed in the output. You see, Java is available in the given string text. So like this, guys, we can generally use index of. It will give you the index of the text that is available in the given string. Okay, returns -1 in case the provided text is not available, and we can use this kind of purpose for this kind of searching purpose in the string. We can use index of. So during Selenium automation, we have to search some words inside the strings and see whether they are available or not. Okay, if index of is returning some positive number, then the given text is available in the string text. Otherwise, if it is giving -1 means the text provided text is not available in the given string text. Now, finally, we'll go with the last predefined method that I want to cover as part of this series, as part of this string class, that is split. It is also very useful, guys. Split is also very important and useful. I'll say string. I'll say some str again. Okay, here I'll give my name is Arun. Like this, I'll give some string text. Okay. Now, if I say str dot split, okay, nothing will happen here if you directly use this. You see, error is already coming. Here in this split command or predefined method of the string class, we have to give double quotes, and in this double quotes, we have to give a regular expression. Regular expression can be as simple as a space also. Okay, I'll give a space here, guys. So I want to split this entire string text with the help of the space. So what will happen, guys, if you split this entire text with the help of the space? Wherever the space comes, it will break the statement into multiple words. Okay, you see, my after my space is coming, so it will separate the my, and then after name again space is coming. Wherever the space is coming, it will take this. Okay, after is again space is there. This is another word, Arun space, and finally, how many words will be created out of this split command? Okay, split method of the string class. 5 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all the words will be separated now. So when you hover the mouse on the split, guys, split is returning you a string array. You see, string array, where each and every element of the array will be like this different words which got splitted using this space. Here I'll say string array words. Okay, words is equal to like this. I'll say. Okay, now sys out. If I say words of 2, I'll say. Okay, what will be printed, guys? Words of 2 means what will be printed in the output. Here 0, 1. This complete string text got split into multiple words with the help of this space. So this word will be stored into the string array at the index 0, this one at the index 1, this one at the index 2. So when I say system.out.println words of 2 means this is will be printed in the output. Okay, you just run this. Only is out of this complete string text is will be printed. You see, is got printed. Similarly, guys, if I say words of 0, 0 means my will be printed. Here, my will be printed. If I say, if I copy paste this one, remove all these things. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, like this. If I run this, you see, run this code. My name is Arun Motri. Here, this will return you my, and this will return you my name. That is lowercase name. This one is, this one Arun, my first name, and this one my last name. Like this, it will be retrieving and printing, guys. Okay, run this code, you will get the same output as I mentioned. You see, my name is Arun Moturi. Fine. So this what is a split, guys? What if here spaces are not there in this given string text? The spaces are not there. Hyphen is there. In this case, what will happen? In this case, what will happen, guys? Only one word will be there, right? You are splitting with the help of what space? But here spaces are not there. So this will be stored in the index 0, and this will give you array index out of bounds exception. You see? Now you'll get array index out of bounds exception. First, my name is Arun Motri will be with hyphens will be printed. After that, you'll get an exception. Array index out of bounds exception. Because only one word is there, it is not splitted, right? At the index 0, everything got stored. So how to resolve this problem is, here instead of giving space, the split command here, instead of giving the space as a regular expression, give hyphen, guys. Okay. In this case, wherever the hyphen comes in the syntax, the split command will split them into multiple words and store into the string array, and you can get the same output now. Here, with the help of hyphen, it's splitting, guys. You see, I got the output. So this is what is a split command or split predefined method of the string class in Java. So with this, guys, we are done with the string class. But string is a very big concept, but I don't want to cover it in detail here. Okay. The reason behind that is, I don't want to go too deep. Okay. Whatever that is required for Selenium automation, I'm covering. Okay. This much is enough though. Fine. So we covered till now, guys, we covered the arrays. Then I covered the string class, and also I covered the wrapper class and primitive data types also. Now the last topic for this session is this one, exception handling. Okay, exception handling. So let's get started with the exception handling topic, guys. So what is exception handling and all? I'm going to explain now. Exception is nothing but an error which is occurred during runtime. Already I have shown you one exception, guys, array index out of bounds exception. That is nothing but an example of exception. So guys, exception is nothing but in simple terms is an error which is occurred during the runtime, that is during program execution. For example, I'll write one more code where int a is equal to, I'll say 5. Okay, int a is equal to 5. Int b is equal to a divided by 0, I'll say. Okay, I'll say int b is equal to a divided by 0. So I'm trying to divide a number by 0. Is it possible? In mathematics, guys, it's not possible. Infinite, they will say. Right? If you try to divide a number by 0, that is infinite, they will say. But in Java, if you try to divide a number by 0, you will get an exception known as arithmetic exception. Mathematical exception known as arithmetic exception you will get here. Now you try to print out the value of b also here. Okay. Try to print out the value of the b and run this code, guys. You will get arithmetic exception. Instead of getting any output here, you see at the line 6, that is this line, you got an exception known as arithmetic exception. Because in Java you cannot divide. Mathematics also cannot divide a number by 0. If you do in mathematics they say as infinite, but in Java it results in an error known as mathematical error known as exception, guys. The type of the exception is arithmetic exception. Why the exception is coming? This is the reason. You are trying to divide a number by 0. That's why you are getting an exception. But who will divide a number intentionally here? Who will divide a number intentionally, guys? That generally people don't try to divide, right? They know that there's a possibility of exception. Why they will try to divide a number by 0? That may happen in real time, guys. I will tell you how this will happen. In order to understand how this happens in real time, you need to understand a concept, guys. There's one predefined class in Java known as scanner class. Okay. So if you go to the Java 8 API library, there's a predefined class in Java known as scanner class. Control F and say scanner here. Search for scanner. You see there's a predefined class known as scanner class in Java. This scanner class will allow us to intake the input into our Java programs. Okay. When you run the program, if someone has to enter some values, then we can use the scanner, guys. Okay. In that case, here I'm not intaking any data earlier in earlier examples. Now I want to, when I run the program, I want to collect the data from the user. Okay. So let's say I'll say int a is equal to 5, but int b, I'm not going to give any value here. I don't want to assign any value to the b. Okay. So what I want to do is, with the help of the scanner class, I want to intake some data during the runtime and store that into the variable b. So for that, I first need to create an object for the scanner class. Scanner. This is a predefined class in Java, guys. Scanner like this, I have to create an object for the scanner class. Import this scanner from Java. You see java.util package scanner class. And here, scanner constructor cannot be empty. Inside the scanner constructor, you have to give system.in. That's it. Now, guys, the next thing here is, I want to collect the input, right? Using this object reference of the scanner class, we can, during the runtime, we can collect the input from the users. For that, I'll just copy the scanner here. Okay, I'll copy the scanner here and say scanner dot next. There's a command known as next int. Okay, for the scanner class, there's a command known as next int. Okay, if you want to collect integers, you have to say next int like this. Okay, and this command, this predefined method of the scanner class will collect the input from the user, and this collected input I want to store into this variable b. So that's why I'll say here b is equal to scanner dot next int. Okay, so b is equal to scanner.nextInt. Now I'll say system.out.println. I'll say system.out.println a divided by b. This kind of situation is there. Okay, I want to divide the user given number during the runtime. This particular number I want to divide with the help of the user given number. That's what is, and that result I want to print in the output. Okay, so run this code, guys. What will happen? Let's see. When I run the code, guys, you see I'm getting a blank output here, but actually the program is expecting some input, guys. Okay, the program here, you'll not understand what's happening here. Blank output is coming kind of situation you will feel. Okay, a blank kind of output is coming kind of feeling you will have, but you can actually enter a number, guys. For example, here if I enter some 2 here and press enter, you see how many times the 5 can be divided with 2 times, right? That result of 2 is coming here. That's okay. But here this is not so clear for the user to enter the number here. So what I'll do is, before I collect any input from the user, I'll just provide a print statement here. Okay, so just see here, I'll write a print statement here. S out. Okay, before collecting an input from the user, I'll say S out. Enter any integer number. Okay, like this I'll give a helpful message. Okay, if now this time you will understand, guys, and enter any integer number. Okay, if you run this code, this time we'll have a proper output coming during the runtime. You see it's asking, and it's asking the user to enter any integer number. So by looking at this particular message, the user will try to enter a number, guys. For example, the user has entered a number like 3. Okay, 3, and press enter. How many times this number 5 can be divided with 3? Only one time, right? 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are is not possible, so the result 1 got printed. But what if the user has entered 0 here? This is how the problems happen in real time, guys. Okay, the user tries to if the user enters 0 here into the b, so 5 divided by 0 will happen. That will result in an exception known as, during the compiler is not giving this exception, you see, because it doesn't know which number the user is going to give. But what if the user gives 0 during the runtime? Like this, during the runtime while running the program, if the user gives 0, that 0 will store into b, and 5 divided by 0 will become an exception, will result in exception because it is not possible. Run this code, you'll get an exception, guys. So let's run this code. What is the problem? That is demo1 is not allowed to run in parallel. Stop and run. Okay, already we are running, right? Sorry. So here I will give 0 and press enter, guys. Okay, so if the user gives 0 here and press enters, you see, so here 5 divided by 0 will happen, and that's the reason at the 14th line, this particular line, we got an exception, that is arithmetic exception. So based on the user input, this program is giving an exception, right? Based on the user input, this particular program is giving an exception. So there is a chance that user may enter. Okay, so this kind of code when you write, there is a chance that user may enter 0 number. In that case, what we have to do? There is no plan. We are simply giving an exception, right? So what is the problem with exception? What will happen if the exception comes? At this line 14, exception is coming, but what is the problem? If exception is occurring here, guys, at this line, there is a possibility of exception here when user enters 0. Okay, when a user enters 0, there is a possibility of exception at this line. But what will happen if exception occurs at this line? The problem here is the remaining statements will not be executed, guys. You see, the problem with the exception is, okay, so whenever you run the program and at a particular line, if you get an exception, the remaining statements won't be executed. For example, here, uh, I'll just write some kind of thing. Okay, this is a otherwise I'll say my name is Arun Moduri. Okay, like this, some print statements I'll write for the sake. Okay, for the sake of, I'll write some print statements, guys. I love Java programming. Like this, I'll write 2 print statements. So you see, now if I run this code, and the code will run, and during the runtime, the code will ask for an input from the user. And if the user is giving 0 here, what happens at the line 14, you will get an exception, right? There is a possibility of an exception here when user enters 0. So here 5 divided by 0 is not possible, and hence this line 14 will give an exception, and the program will halt here itself. At the line 14 only program will start. remaining lines of code will not be executed. You see, my name is Arun Motri, I love Java program will not be executed, guys. You see, once you get an exception at the line 14, the program stopped here and the remaining lines didn't get executed. That's the problem, guys. So now we understood, right, what is the problem with an exception. Exception is nothing but an error, guys, which occurs during runtime, that is during program execution, that you have. Now you can understand that. But if an exception occurs during the program execution at any step, the steps which are after that execution exception won't be executed, guys. Okay. You see, after this line, nothing will get executed. That's the problem with the exception. Okay. When an exception occurs during runtime, the remaining lines of code will not be executed in the program. So that's the reason, guys, we have to handle the exception. That's fair. Okay. That's where the concept of exception handling came. If you get an exception, the remaining code will not be executed after the exception line. The remaining code will not be executed. Hence, we have to handle the exception if there is a requirement. Okay. So if you still want these two lines to be executed even after this exception comes, that is not possible, right? By default, that is not possible. So since there is a possibility of an exception here with this line, what we can do is in Java, we have to handle the exception. And Java, if you want to handle the exception, the only way to handle the exception in Java is by using the try catch blocks. Okay. We have to use something known as try catch blocks, guys. Okay. So the statement for which there is a possibility of getting an exception, that statement you have to put inside the try block like this. Okay. The statement for which there is a possibility of an exception, this is the statement, right? There is a possibility of the exception that we have to put inside the try block. And so this is a try block, guys. Okay. The statement which is for which there is a possibility of getting an exception, that I'll put inside the try block. And if in case an exception occurs here, okay, when exception occurs here, what will happen? When exception occurs here, then what will happen? So this exception need to be handled, but try catch will only will only find the exception. Okay, so if there are any statements inside the try block for which there is an exception coming, try will find it out. But the one who has to handle the exception is catch block, guys. Okay, at the end of the try block, you have to add a catch block here like this. Provide circular brackets, catch, circular brackets, and the starting and ending of the catch block. And inside this catch block, okay, inside this catch block, which type of exception is possible here? Which type of exception is possible, guys? Arithmetic exception is possible, right? This exception is possible. We are getting this kind of exception. This particular line will throw which type of exception? Arithmetic exception. So for each and every exception type, there is a predefined class in Java, guys. Okay. For example, for arithmetic exception also there is a predefined class in Java. I'll show you. Control F, arithmetic exception. You just search for. You see here. Click on this. Arithmetic exception is also a predefined class in Java. Okay. Arithmetic exception is also a predefined class in Java. So whenever this exception occurs at this particular line in the try block, the control will go to the catch block, and for this particular catch block to catch this particular exception, okay, to catch this exception, we need to create that class, guys. Okay, we need to specify the class which can catch the exception. That is arithmetic exception class. Arithmetic exception is the class name. It's a predefined class in Java which can catch this kind of exception. That means here object of, okay, whenever exception occurs at this line, object of arithmetic exception will be thrown. Okay, understand this line, guys. Okay, the try block, guys, this statement is giving or throwing, because when you try to divide a number by 0, this statement will give you which exception? Arithmetic exception. That is object of the arithmetic exception will be thrown here. That thrown object of arithmetic exception will be catched by which class in Java? Arithmetic exception class can only hold this object. So here I'll say, just give something like E or something. Any name you can give, guys. E or F or T or what, V or whatever it is. So since it is kind of symbolizing E for exception, right? I'm giving E. That's up to you whether which variable name you want to give. You can give. Okay. This is object reference, guys. So object reference of this arithmetic exception class type. And if this particular statement is throwing arithmetic object of arithmetic exception, that object will be referred to this object reference. That will be stored in this object reference of this arithmetic exception class. Now see this out. Okay. Arithmetic, I'll write a arithmetic exception occurred and handled here. Okay. Handled here. Got occurred and handled here. Okay. Like this, I'll write a print statement. This is a print statement only, guys, not the real statement. It's a print statement. So guys, in this case, if I run this code, you see here what will happen. If I run this code and it's asking for an integer number, and I'll give some value like 1. If I give 1, guys, how many times the number 5 can be divided with 1? How many times this number 5 can be divided with 1? 5 times, right? I'll get the output as 5 here. So, scanner class is taking the input into this variable b, scanner dot next in. Whatever the one we are storing, right? 1 will go into b. And here in the try block, 5 divided by 1. So it is giving an exception? No, right? It's not giving an exception. So catch block will not be executed. This will be skipped, guys. In this case, when I give 1 here, since this particular statement is not giving an exception, catch block will not be executed. Instead, it will be skipped. And rather, the program execution will continue. And after uh, after this value, that is 5 divided by 1, that is 5 will be printed in the output. After that, my name is Arun Motri and I love program. Java program will be printed. Just hit enter here, guys. You see, followed by 5. My name is Arun Motri. I love Java program. This is the positive case. What about the negative case? Again, let me run this again. Let me run this code again. This time, I'm going to explicitly give 0, guys. Okay, here I'll enter 0. In this case, what will happen? If I give 0 into this b, a divided by b, that is 5 divided by 0, this particular statement now will result in an object. It will throw an object of the arithmetic exception, because exception occurs means object of the arithmetic exception will be thrown in this statement, and that object will be cached into this object reference of this arithmetic exception class inside this catch block. And since it is cached here, properly cached here, this block will be executed. That is, arithmetic exception got occurred and handled here, and program execution will still continue because we have handled the exception. If there is no try catch block, the exception will come here and program will halt and the remaining code will not be executed. But when you handle this particular statement, for which the possibility of the arithmetic exception is there, if in case arithmetic exception occurs at this line, it will be handled here and the remaining code will be executed. Okay, even though 0 is not a 0 will give you the arithmetic exception here, exception will be handled here, and as part of handling the exception, this particular statement will be printed in the output. That is, arithmetic exception got occurred and handled here will be printed in the output, followed by the program will continue, guys. It will not halt. Okay, run this code. Despite of we getting the exception, okay, despite of we getting the exception, you see arithmetic exception occurred actually, and it is got handled also. Because it got handled, the remaining lines of the code will be executed. That is, the program execution will not stop, it will continue. Okay, despite of the exception. So hope, guys, you understood how to handle the exceptions. Okay, so how to handle the exceptions, you understood. Now let's take one more example, guys. Let's take one more example. You remember this, right? The array index out of bounds exception, right? So let's try to go with array index out of bounds exception. Fine. So I'll give this kind of thing. Okay, I'll create a program out of the array index out of bounds exception. Integer array a is equal to new int of, I'll give the size as 3, guys. Here I'll give the size as 3. Okay, now I want to store values into the array, but I want to collect the data from the users only, okay, during the runtime. So how to do that? So for that, guys, I have to create an object for the scanner class here. Scanner is equal to new scanner, like this I'll say. Okay, and here I'll say system.in. Just understand this program, guys. It's kind of good. So now I want to collect the, so I'll just give a print message here to the users saying enter 3 numbers that you want to store into the array. Okay, enter 3 integer numbers that you want to store into the array. Okay, like this I'll say. But here 3 values I need to collect, right? So for that, instead of writing this kind of print statement, I'll say for, okay, for int I is equal to 0, I less than the size of the array, that is variable name is a, array name is a dot length I will say, I plus plus I will say. This is a better way of collecting the input. Here I'll write a print statement, system.out.println, enter integer number colon integer number, I'll say here something like this, I'll say plus I. So here I is 0, guys. So I'll say integer number I plus 1, I'll say. So it's becoming bit complex. That okay, that's okay, guys. Okay. Enter integer number I plus 0 is there means enter first integer number, simple terms. Okay, like that I'll say plus and say give a colon here so that user can understand this. And after the user enters this number, that number I have to collect, right? Using the scanner object, I can collect the number. Scanner dot next int I will say. Okay, that collected number I want to store into the into this array. So at the index 0, I want to collect. So I'll say a of, okay, a of I is equal to, I'll say, okay, a of I means in the first iteration, a of I is a of 0 is equal to scanner dot next int, like that. In the second iteration, again, it will ask for the enter integer number 2, and the user will enter the second number, and the second number will go into the index 1 of this array, like that. And for 3 values, he will enter, guys, one by one. Okay. Now here, simply I'll print all the values of the whatever the user has entered, right? That particular values I'll print it out. Okay. So system.out.println. Okay. Uh, the below values are stored into the array. Okay. Stored into the array. Stored into the array. Like this, I want to print it out. Okay. So for each loop, I'll write a for each loop here. For each and every value of this array is an integer type. So b colon a. For each loop, I am writing. Now here I'll say this out. I'll print v. Okay, like this. This is the program I want to implement, guys. Let's see what will happen. So what's the problem, and let's try to solve the problem also. Okay. You see, it is asking you to enter integer number 1. So let's say I'll enter 5 here. Again, it's asking me to enter integer number 2. I'll say 7. It's asking me for entering the integer number 3. I'll say 9. You see, the below values are stored into the array. The program went well. That's fine. Okay, that's fine, right? 3 values the user has entered. So, but here, let's say there is a mistake in this program. Okay, there is a kind of, let's say the user has to, 1 minute, let's tweak this program a bit so that the user can enter one more number actually. So let's try to add one more number into this program, guys. So enter integer number. Here I'll say +1. Okay, that will cause a problem. So run this code. Enter integer number 1, 9, 5, 7. You see one more value it is asking, but the size of the array is only 3. But fourth value, if you say exception is coming, at which line exception is possible? 14th line. So this line is probable to the exception. So what I'll do is I'll put this for loop, okay, or else this particular line is probable to this 14th line is there is a possibility of array index out of bounds exception. So I'll surround this particular statement with try catch block like this. Try catch. Which type of exception is possible here? Array index out of bounds exception, right? So here I'll say array index. In here I need to provide the class name, guys. Okay, the same class name you can copy paste also if you want. Array index out of bounds exception, copy paste here and just give e or something, some way object reference name you give, and say here, okay, sys out. Okay, so you cannot enter fourth value as the size of the array is only 3, like this you have to write. Okay, now run this code, guys. Run this code. This time what will happen? Still the program will continue, guys. Okay, despite of you enter a fourth value, the array exception will be handled and the program will continue, guys. Let's see what will happen. Run this code. Okay, I'll give 9, then 5, then 7, then 8. You see here exception got handled. You cannot assign fourth value as the size of the, you cannot give fourth value here. I just forgot to give cannot give fourth value as the size of the array is only 3, and the program continued, guys. Okay, there is no stop in the program. This kind of situations, if you come in real time, the only possibility is to handle the exception with the help of try catch blocks. Okay, so if you want to handle the exceptions in Java, the only possibility is using the try catch blocks. Okay, so if that particular statement is possible, okay, if the particular statement is probable to arithmetic exception, then you have to use arithmetic exception. You have to create an object reference of the arithmetic exception. If this particular statement is the possibilities for array index out of bounds exception, then you have to create a predefined class of this array index out of bounds exception class, the catch block, okay, to catch that exception. But what if I give a different exception here? Okay, let me clear out all this complex stuff and let me write a simple program here saying int a is equal to 5. Okay, int a is equal to 5, and I'll say int b is equal to 5 divided by 0. Directly I'll say what is the possibility of the exception here? If you try to divide a number by 0, compiler error is not coming. But when during the runtime, you'll get an exception known as arithmetic exception, right? During the runtime, you'll get an exception known as arithmetic exception will be coming. So I want to handle this exception, guys. Okay, try. So what will happen if the exception occurs? The remaining statements will not be executed. This out. Okay, I want to say this out a plus b. I want to give the sum of a plus b. I want to print. Okay, so sum of okay. Otherwise, I'll say int b is equal to 0 and say int c is equal to a divided by b. I will say okay, and a plus b I'll say here, and you see here a divided b will give you arithmetic exception, and if you run this code, definitely you are going to get an arithmetic exception at line 9. Okay, just see at the line 9 you will get an exception known as arithmetic exception came here, and I need to handle this exception, guys, and I don't want to stop the program from execution and calculating the sum of a and b. I'll say try here, try. I'll put this inside the try block and say catch. Here I'll say which exception it is, arithmetic exception, right? So I need to create a class for the inside the catch block. I'll have to give that arithmetic exception only, and say this out. Arithmetic exception got handled. I'll say simply diplomatically exception got handled. I'll say now run this code, guys. This time the program will not stop. Okay, so you see exception got handled, got printed, or followed by it has calculated the a plus b, that is 5 plus 0 is 5. The result has come here without any problem. The program continued it here. But what if here, guys, this statement is giving you, sorry, this statement is throwing arithmetic exception, but object of the arithmetic exception is being thrown by this statement. But here, if you provide array index out of bounds exception, okay, instead of arithmetic exception, if you provide array index out of bounds exception, what is the problem? Can this statement will throw object of the arithmetic exception, but here the catch block is having the array index out of bounds exception. Is there a match between this object that is thrown and the exception that is catching? No, right? So the exception will still occur now, okay? Because exception cannot be handled, guys. Okay, the exception cannot be handled and it will be thrown, and you'll get arithmetic exception in the output. So there is a mismatch. There is a mismatch between this arithmetic exception and array index out of bounds exception. Object is of arithmetic exception, but the class is of array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so guys, we have to give a proper class name. Okay, exception class name for catching the exception. If you give a different class name, there is a problem. But there is one more way of solving this problem, guys. Okay, to solve this mismatch problem, there is one more way. That is that way. If you want to understand, you have to understand this exception hierarchy. Okay, now let me explain this exceptions hierarchy for you. As you can see in this diagram, guys, you see arithmetic exception and array index out of bounds exception are two different or separate predefined classes in Java, okay, to handle such kind of exceptions. Like arithmetic exception class can only catch an object from arithmetic exception, whereas array index out of bounds exception can only handle, okay, or can be used with try catch blocks to handle only array index out of bounds exception, right, thrown from the statements. But if you clearly observe, these two classes has a parent known as exception. Okay, exception is again a predefined class in Java, and it's the parent class of these classes. That means, guys, if you go to this example here, instead of you providing this exception class, okay, instead of providing a specific class like arithmetic exception or array index, you can simply provide exception here, guys. Okay, exception. Okay, because exception is a parent class. Okay, exception is a parent class of these classes. That means it can handle the exception that the child classes can handle. So in this case, a by b, that is 5 divided by 0, this statement is going to give arithmetic exception, right? So that can be handled by exception class, because exception is a parent class of the arithmetic exception class. It will be handled, guys. Now let's see. Now let's run this code, and you will see that the exception will be handled and the code will continue running till the end of the program. You see, exception got handled, and also here, after the exception got handled here, arithmetic exception got handled with this exception class. This got printed in the output, and also you see the statement which is followed by this try catch block also got printed. That means exception has been successfully handled without any problem. And in this place, guys, if you have any other stuff, for example, here I'll create one more thing like int d, integer array d is equal to, like this. If I create I'll say new int of 2. Okay. Now if I say somewhere here, if I say a of 3 is equal to 5, if I say, okay, sorry, d, right, d of 3, okay, d of 3 is equal to 5, I'll say. So in this case also it will be handled, guys. In this case I'll just make it b is equal to 1, guys, okay, 5 1. So this statement is not going to give an exception, okay. It's because 5 divided by 1, 5 times it will be divided, right? So C will be storing 5, not a problem. This statement is not going to give an exception, but this statement is going to give an exception because the size of the array is only 2, but here you are giving 3, guys, okay. So d of 3 means fourth element of the array, okay. Here size is 2, but fourth element you are trying to into the fourth value of the element of the array, you are trying to store 5, which is not possible because the size of the array is only 2. Only index 0 and 1 are possible here, but you gave 3, which is not possible at all. This statement is going to give you array index out of bounds exception, but that will be handled by this exception class because exception is a parent class of not only arithmetic exception, but it's also a parent class of this array index out of bounds exception. Now run this code, guys. So this will work out perfectly, guys. Without any problem, you'll get the output here as 6, and exception will be handled here also at the same time. Run this code. Exception got handled, and you see the program continued without any block. That is a plus b. Okay. So array index out of bounds got exception got handled here. So that's what is the importance of this exception hierarchy, guys. Either you can provide the specific exception class, or if you are not sure which type of exception is going to come, you can either give this parent class, guys. Instead of giving the specific class, in place of that, you just give the exception class because it can handle all the type of exceptions. But guys, the parent of exception is one more, guys, that is throwable. Okay, there's another predefined class in Java known as throwable, which is even a parent of the exception. In some cases, if exception class is also not able to handle any type of the situation, then finally you can use throwable. Okay, in place of this exception, you can use throwable, guys. Okay, similar to exception, throwable is even more higher, guys. Okay, it can handle throwable can handle this class can handle even more better exceptions. Okay, so in some situations when even exception class is not working out for handling the exceptions, then go for the throwable, which is parent of all the other exception classes in Java. Okay, so fine. So this one works very good. If exception is not doing the job, it will do the job. Okay, if you're unable to handle the exceptions using the exception class, then use the throwable in place of the exception and it will be handled. Okay, so this is what is exception hierarchy, guys. Okay, so exception class or throwable class can handle all this type of exceptions, okay, thrown by different situations like arithmetic exception or array index out of bounds exceptions. Okay, fine. This is what is exception hierarchy, guys. We are done with the exception hierarchy. Now we have the last topic of this session, that is exception types. Okay, this is very important topic, guys. This is very important topic. So you can categorize exceptions as checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Okay. So till now, whatever the exceptions that you are getting are unchecked exceptions. Did you get any compiler error anywhere? When you say int c is equal to a by b, where b is equal to 0. Okay. If you say int c is equal to a by b, where b is equal to 0, did compiler is specifying you that, okay, there is an error except possibility of exception here, right? No, right? But when you run the code during the runtime, you'll get an exception. Okay, during the runtime, if you don't handle the exception, you'll get an exception. If you don't have this try catch blocks, during the runtime, you're getting an exception. That kind of exceptions are called as unchecked because compiler is not checking this exception during the compile time. Compiler is not checking. While you are writing the code, you are not getting the error. That means compiler of Java is not suggesting you the exception, possible exception here. That kind of exceptions are known as unchecked exceptions. Okay. So I'll make it this concept simple, guys. Okay. Let me clear all the stuff and say int a is equal to 5 divided by 0, like this. If I say here I'm trying to divide a number by 0, but are you getting an exception? Is a compiler, while you're writing the code, is a compiler of Java is mentioning that there's a error problem here, exception here. No, right? But when I ultimately run the code, in the output I'm getting the exception. Okay, in the output I got the exception like arithmetic, but compiler of Java is not recognizing the exception when I'm writing the code. Such kind of exceptions which are not recognized by the compilers are known as unchecked exceptions. But coming to the checked exceptions, guys, I'll give you one more example. So there is a concept in Java known as file handling concept, guys, that I will be explaining in the next session. Okay, that file handling concept I'll explain in the next session. But in this session, we are going to use some predefined classes of that file handling. Okay. So what I will do is there is something known as file input stream, guys. Okay. There is a predefined class in Java known as file input stream. FIS is equal to new file. I am just creating an object for the file input stream here, simple terms. Put a semicolon here. And here, this file input stream is expecting a file name. So what I'll do is I'll just do one more thing. Like here also I'll simply say file is equal to new file, I'll say. Okay. So file is equal to new file. I'll import this file from Java. Okay. That's fine. All good. And here I'll have to give something. So abcd.txt file or something I'm giving some sample. Okay. Non-existing file. And this file I'm passing into this constructor. That's okay. But still I'm getting an error, guys. Okay. Even after passing the required file object reference into this file input stream constructor, I'm still getting an error. Here compiler is giving an error like this. Okay. For the mouse on this file input stream, unhandled exception is possible. There is a possibility of getting file not found exception. What if this file is not available and you are trying to read this text from this file which is not available? That's what it is suggesting. As compiler is giving me a hint in advance that there is a possibility of an exception here. There is a possibility surround this particular thing with try catch block. It is saying, you see, over the mouse, you see, there's a possibility of the exception. Either more actions you go. So when you say more actions, guys, it's asking you to handle this exception in advance. But did I run the program? Did I run the program? No, right? Before I run the program, compiler is suggesting that there is a possibility of an exception with this statement. But in case of int a is equal to 5 divided by 0, their compiler was not suggesting any exception like this, right? The possibility of exception is not suggested by compiler earlier, but now with this file, when you create an object for this file input stream, then you are getting this error saying unhandled exception. Compiler is coming saying that there is a possibility of this file not found exception. Better to handle it is saying. So if a compiler is able to detect the exception in advance before you run the program, that kind of exceptions are known as checked exceptions. Okay. So that type of exceptions are known as checked exceptions. So there are two ways we can handle this checked exceptions. That is anyhow in Java, guys, if you want to handle exception, there is no other way. You have to surround that with try catch blocks. Okay. Handling is only like this. Okay. Auto generated, guys. This you see try catch block code got auto generated by IntelliJ here by selecting that option. You see this particular statement which has a possibility of getting an exception like file not found exception. Okay. And when I selected that option from this IntelliJ, you see it's surrounding IntelliJ is surrounding this particular statement with a try catch block. The catch block, which class is provided? File not found exception. Predefined class of Java has been provided, which can handle this kind of exception. Okay. But what if I remove this try catch block, guys? I'll remove this try catch block from here. And what if I don't want to handle the exception? If I run this code, guys, you see, if I run this code, I'll get an exception because this file doesn't exist actually. I'm just randomly gave this abc.txt. Definitely, I'm going to get an exception. That is nothing but file not found exception came. You see, as suggested by this compiler of Java, that there is a possibility of file not exception. If there is a possibility of this file not found exception, if this particular file, this particular abc.txt file doesn't exist. If it exists, no problem, guys. Okay. If this file exists, there is no problem. But what if this file doesn't exist? In that case, you are going to get an exception known as file not found. So that's why it's asking you to handle. Why we have to handle the exception? The statements which are following the exception will not be executed, right? You see, here I'll say my name is Arun Motri. I'll say, okay, this statement won't be executed. If an exception is coming, you see, if I you see it's if I run this code, let's see what will happen. You see, an exception is coming, right? This statement didn't get executed because I didn't handle. What if I surround this with try catch blocks? Surround with try catch. This time, what will happen? Here I'll say sys out exception got handled. Exception got handled. I'll say now run this code. You see, exception got handled, and what you are getting, my name is Arun Motri got executed. That means the exception got handled here, right? That's what is the purpose of the exception. Okay, try catch blocks. It will handle the exception. Okay, it will handle the exception. And coming to these guys, okay, coming to this. So there are two possibilities, guys. Either you can handle the exception or you can ignore the exception also. Okay. So this kind of checked exceptions which are suggested by compiler, either you can handle them using try catch block, or there's one more thing like you can ignore the exception. So if you are damn sure that there is no problem that is going to come, okay, there is no, this file is you have given is correct, 100% correct, and there's no possibility of exception. If you're damn sure, then you can ignore the exception, guys. Okay, simply by selecting this option, add exception to method signature. So this statement will be added to the method declaration beside the main method throws file not found. Ignore this exception saying, okay, to the compiler, we are shutting the mouth of the compiler saying that don't suggest to me this kind of exceptions. Okay, so compiler is explicitly suggesting us that there is a possibility of exception, but we are simply shutting the mouth of the compiler. Don't suggest me such kind of errors or exceptions, possible exceptions. Okay, so but if you are careless, okay, you simply shut the mouth of the compiler, and if you run this program now, okay, without handling this exception, if you run the program by shutting the mouth of the compiler, what will happen during the runtime? You will get the exception, right? If this file is doesn't exist, you will get exception at any cost. Okay, you just shut down, you just shut the mouth of the compiler. That doesn't mean that exception has been handled, right? You see, you got file not found exception in the output. This is what will happen, guys. Okay, so this is like ignoring or shutting the mouth of the compiler by suggesting that this exception occurs and all. Okay, either two possibilities are there with checked exception. Either you can uh, make the compiler shut it mouth saying that okay, I'm not going to suggest you the exception, or second thing is like you can handle the exception using try catch block. Okay, in case of checked exceptions, either you have to handle the exception or you have to shut the mouth of the compiler in not suggesting us this kind of exception. Okay, that's the two possibilities. Ultimately, if you want your program to run, okay, even after getting the exception, then we have to handle the exception, guys. Okay, then only possibility is we have to handle the exception. Fine, all good so far. All good so far. You understood the exception types. One is checked exceptions, where which are checked by the compiler while you are writing the code. If there is a possibility of exception from the code, checked exceptions will occur. The compiler will suggest the checked exceptions. Whereas unchecked exceptions are where the compiler doesn't suggest. In this case, guys, int a is equal to 5 divided by 0. You see, compiler is not suggesting me any exception, possible exception here, right? And one more thing, guys. So here I will handle the exception. I'll handle the exception. So when I handle the exception here, if I say catch exception, I'll say exception E because exception is a parent class of all the child classes. So this will handle all arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. Every type of exception will be handled by the exception class. That's okay. Now here I was actually saying exception got this current custom message I'm printing. Okay, whenever the exception is occurred here and catch block is executed, I'm simply putting a println statement here and saying exception got handled. Okay, like this I'm printing. Run this, in the output you'll get exception got handled, right? But what if you don't want to get this custom message, rather you want to, okay, you want to get the exception details. Okay, so here what you can do is you can say system.out.println, instead of writing your custom message here, simply say e dot. Okay, so simply print e, guys. What will happen if I say e, if I print e, what will happen? Let's see, run this code, let's see what will happen. You see exception details are coming, java.lang arithmetic exception, okay, divided by 0. Okay, the name of the exception, like this it will come. There's one more way, like you can say e dot to string. Okay, this is also same output you will get. Either when you print e, by default it is converting the to string and printing, guys, or you can explicitly convert to string and print. Okay, you'll get the same output. Now you'll get the same output. Okay, and also there is one more thing, guys, instead of printing like this e dot to string, or there's one more thing, like only message you want to get. Okay, the exception message, which type of exception occurred. For that, guys, instead of saying e, instead of printing e, or instead of printing e dot to string, you just say e dot get message. Only this message part will be coming, exception details will not come, only the message part will come. Run this code. These are the different ways of printing the message. Okay, so divided by 0 is the reason for the exception, like that it's coming. Or there's one more thing. If you want to get a detailed exception, okay, e dot print stack trace. Okay, you don't have to write print ln statement here. Simply say e dot print stack trace. This will print the complete exception details, where the exception is coming, what type of exception, what is the reason for the exception, which line the exception is there. Everything will come now. Run this code. I have run the code. You see, you will get a detailed view of the exception details. You see, java.lang arithmetic exception. The reason for this is exception type, and this is the reason for the exception, and the exception occurred at this particular demo class. In that there is a main method, and in the demo class main method at the 11th line, that means this line you got the exception. This kind of details if you want to get, say e.print status. Okay. So with this explanation, guys, we are done with the exception handling also. So as part of this session, I covered different Java concepts that are required for understanding or using Selenium, that is arrays, strings, wrapper classes, and exception handling. There are a few more Java concepts, guys, that I will be covering in the next session. Okay. So for this session, this much is enough. In the next session, I'll cover a few more Java concepts that are pending. So that's it, guys. See you in the next video session. Thank you. Bye.